And what a great, good evening to all of you joining us from around the diaspora and here in Barbados. It's a pleasure to have you with us again. It is my distinct honor and privilege to be your co-host tonight with Marcia. She'll be joining us in just a little while. But we want to welcome you to this another Marcia Week show coming to you live from the beautiful island of Barbados. And it is Whit Monday. Just yesterday was Whit Sunday. Of course, Pentecost Sunday in some of the circles it's referred to. And we really had a great evening yesterday. And right from the onset, I just want to apologize for some of the technical issues that we had yesterday. It did rain a little bit for us, and we did have one or two little minor areas of problems in terms of the technology. But we were able to navigate through that. But up until the time I saw some 3,700 people viewing the live feed at the time, and then when we came back on, I think it went up to close to 900 before I saw we were excuse me, before we had to conclude the evening. But we want to thank all of you that made it yesterday such a tremendous success. We want to thank all of you, the loyal opposition, that didn't only turn up in terms of being technologically joining us, but you actually turned up in person. And I met so many of you, and what a privilege and an honor it was to meet so many of you face to face and to connect with you face to face. And we always look forward to that. To be honest with you, we're always expecting it. We're always anticipating the time that we do get to meet so many of you. As you know, we greet you when we come on here in the evening. Anika Hope, Vernon Garnes, Hugh Shepherd. Then there's Noel and Mystic Angel. You're there again. Good night to you, loyal daughter 66. Good evening as well. Junie Rock. Janitha Calendar, Cynthia Mon, Cecilia Miller. Real pleasure to have you with us, Cecilia. Yes, and big up Lynette. Yes, we do have to big up Lynette. I will have to agree with you. I will have to agree with you about that. You know, you can't give every household what it was she said again. I can't even remember, to be honest with you, because there was so much information shared yesterday. But she did speak about giving every household of garbage bin. Good evening, Owen and Erwin. Good to see you as well, Sandra Franklin. Good evening to you, loyal patriots. Blessed night to you as well. Born again number at 48, Victorious Queen. Good evening, Lucinda Aline. Born again. Yes. FX Trading. FS, was a pleasure to meet you yesterday. Finally, really great to see you. A good evening to you as well, Tyrone Blackman, Diana Husbands, CG. Gelbiz, great to see you as well. Rose Green, James Harden, Ryan Rock, Marcia. I know you're going to keep me on my P's and Q's with the national anthem in just a few minutes. Definitely just in time. I have done it. Yes, just in time. Captain Hasbra, great to have you with us this evening as well. Llewellyn DeCosta Fields, Dalton Spencer, great to have you as well. Judith Ann Clark. Yes, I agree with you. It was an excellent meeting last night and a great turnout of support. I definitely have to agree with you, Judith. I thought it was one of the best, if not probably the best, roadside parliament we've had to date. I was happy to see so many people there, and not only so many people there, you know, Judith Ann, but it was the number of people from the different walks of life, different political parties, different religious backgrounds. You know, it was just such a potpourri, if I could call it that. Yes, if you could call it that, excuse me, a potpourri of, I'm just going to ask them to get me some water. A potpourri of persons from all over the country, you know, young, old, women, men, children, young people, you know, members from all parties. It was just an amazing evening. That I feel so honored to be a part of this movement. It is a movement, and that's why. Yes, Janitha, greetings from St. Philip West. Great to have you with us as well this evening, and Lemuel, good evening to you as well. Going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to stem the onslaught of the loyal opposition, because it's a movement. You see, people are trying to single out an individual and try to try to as it were, attack a person. But the problem here is that you're not dealing with a person, you're dealing with an entire movement of people. So when persons get online and try to go after a single individual, what you're missing is that it's not about a single individual. It's not about a personality. You see, that's the problem we have had in politics here for many, many years. Everything has spun around a personality rather than being around what is in the best interest of our country, focusing on Barbados. So we focused on Grant Lee Adams. God bless him. Thank God for everything he's done. We focused on Errol Barr. We focused on Tom Adams and Bree St. John and Fundell Stewart and Mia Mottley. But you see, we need to make some changes. My understanding is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expect to get different results. If in Barbados we expect to get some different results, then we're going to have to change the way we do business. And one of the first things I would wish to suggest is that we need to get rid of all these personality matters and focus in on what is the best interest of the country. Focus in on the Barbados government. And notice I didn't say the government of Barbados. I said, let me say Barbadian government, because as far as I can see, even up to this point in time, I might, Captain, up to this point in time, we're still dealing with a colonial mentality. It's like people have left. When slavery was over, because of the black slaves that were brought into Massa's house, and now they're acquiring their own position and so on, and they have perpetuated the same mentality, the same thinking that Massa colonial masters perpetuated, and that is with us today. It's with us tonight. That's why there is need for a significant shift in our country and focus on what is best for the Barbados family. Absolutely correct, Theory Gittings. Absolutely correct. This evening, I was sitting watching some videos on Burkina Faso and Mr. Theory, I think his name, President Theory. And I must tell you, we need to take some things out of his playbook. I mean, this is one of the most brilliant young men alive in the world today. And he's making no two bones about it. He told the International Monetary Fund, don't need your help. You see, because Burkina Faso has gold, so they can now form their own currency because they've got their gold back in. But, before they had to depend on France, and I'm so glad they kicked France out. And I wish to God we would kick all of the IMF and the World Bank and the United States and everybody out too. I know you'll be quick to tell me, well, Burkina Faso has gold, but Barbados must have things as well, particularly within the context of its people and our ingenuity, our innovation, our creativity. When I look at the amount of things that I see coming forth in this country as I drive around and I talk with people, Barbados is a wealth of innovation and creativity. And all you need to do is to be able to harness that and release it. And I'm not going to go into details of all of that at this particular point in time, but we need a shift in how we do governance in this country. We need to understand that it's not about a personality. It's about the country. It is about the governance of this nation. Yeah, this system, Calvin, is absolutely personality driven. People form governments. I appreciate that. But the government needs to focus on what is in the best interest and not, be continuously relying upon an individual. I've been in leadership a long time, and I can tell you, I've been a lot of places. I've contributed to a number of them where, according to John Maxwell, a good leader is a person who works themselves out of a job. If you cannot be done without, then your leadership has not been a very good one. And you know, I've been into the Cayman Islands for the past 19 years, and while some people may have some egotistical issues to deal with, I am satisfied and thankful that I've done my job so successfully in Cayman with what I went there to do, is that I am no longer needed. Not that they don't want me to come or anything of that nature. No, absolutely not. But I am no longer needed. It does not come down to me. You see, if something happens to me, everything comes to an end. But when you have a movement, it doesn't matter concerning the specific individual. That is not as important as the entire movement. And that is why the loyal opposition is so powerful. The loyal opposition is a movement of Barbadian people. People are trying to find an individual, so they want to go after Marcia Weeks, or they want to go after Caswell Franklin, or they want to go after Ferdinand Nichols, or they want to go after Maxine McLean. No, but you see, that's not it. You have to go after the people of Barbados when it comes to the loyal opposition. And you can't go after 280,000 people, or let me change that, 260,000 people, because 20,000 support the government at the moment. Let me just leave it at that. And I know I'm wrong. I'm just being illustrative and ridiculous. But the point I'm making is that there are more people supportive of Barbados than there are people supportive of the Barbados Labour Party or the Democratic Labour Party. We are citizens of this country. We are Barbadians first. We are not Labour rights in the Barbados Labour Party first. And I want to rebuke members of the Barbados Labour Party and tell you straight tonight that you should be a Barbadian first, and you should be demanding of your representatives and your parliamentarians and your cabinet and your prime minister what is in the best interest of Barbados first, not what is in the best interest of the party. Because it would appear to me that we have a government that is interested in looking after the well-being of supporters. But let me tell you, you are the government, you are the Barbados, don't let me say Barbadian government, because I can't say that, because we are still under the colonial control of neo-colonialistic masters. Neo-colonialism is where you are treating to slavery, which is implemented under the guise of financial control, where people are giving you money. The International Monetary Fund, I watched a video this evening, and the individual made the comment that there's not a single country that has ever gone into IMF program that has been able to rid itself of the shackles of the International Monetary Fund and get itself to an economically viable position. Notice, I'm putting both things together. There are one or two countries, I understand, that have broken the shackles, but they have not got to the economic prosperity the country has desired, because the Western society is hell-bent on colonialism, control, you know, and when you have that control capability with the money, because because you thank you so much, getting so much contribution in terms of my voice, and thank you all so much, because I was singing, I need all of that. But when you have so much in terms of people who are controlling your financial accessibility to be able to improve your country, you become a slave to them. And that's what neocolonialism is. So listen, before I go any further, we are past 500 people. We are 594. And I've made a commitment that when I see us up to around 500, we're going to play the national anthem. So permit me, please, to get that national anthem right now. And let us begin the evening on the right foot, respecting and honoring our great nation of Barbados. Let's Yes, yes. The strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. I really love that aspect. You know, not only are we looking after what we had in the past, but we are looking after what we are looking toward in the future. And so we want to stay on track. We want to stay on focus. I know there are a lot of messages going around saying all kinds of things. Some of it is a load of nonsense and baloney. Some of it is just information, and that kind of stuff. But I tell you, we have to keep focused. We have to remain focused, regardless of what is happening around us, regardless of who is saying what, regardless of who is trying to create confusion. I will say this: wherever there's a confusion, there ain't God. And since God is the people's guide, confusion and none to do with him, it's who it is to do with. And that makes those persons emissaries of Satan, because there's only two entities we know about in terms of the supernatural, those of us who believe in that type of thing, and that is God and Satan. So if you're working on one side, it is obvious you're working on the other. And it's amazing how people, I am just so, I don't even want to say disappointed. I don't even think I'm surprised anymore. But, I consider it such a disservice to your country when people can be bought out so easily with money to change their mouth. Because I have heard so many people, I've listened to people who were so bitterly critical of this current administration totally turn around, because they have been paid out and bought out to shut up. And I want to make it very clear. There is going to be no buying out and paying out of anybody in this show. Not a single body can buy out a movement. This is a movement. And if you happen to get me, you can't get the movement. If you happen, by some stretch of the impossible imagination, get Marcia, then you can't get the movement. You see, it's the people. It's the people. Listen to it. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our names on history's page with expectations great, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. That's a national anthem. That's not the anthem of the BLP or the DLP or Mia Motley or Fundell Stewart or Grant Lee Adams or Ferdinand Nichols. That is the national anthem. And along with it goes the national pledge. I don't know how many of you all remember the national pledge, but maybe you can repeat it with me. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to defend and uphold its honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Did you hear that national pledge? I pledge allegiance to my country, BLP? No. To my country, DLP? No. To my country, Barbados, and to my flag. Look, to my flag, to my flag, to my flag. And because I pledge allegiance to my flag, when this flag was taken to Ghana, I think it was, or wherever it was carried and buried, you discredited and you dishonored my flag. And as a result of that, you no longer have the moral right to represent my country, because you took the sovereign embodiment. You took the symbol of my sovereignty. You took the symbol of my independence. You took the symbol of my breaking away from the colonialistic tyranny. You took it and buried it in Africa along with somebody else's bones or some nonsense of that sort. Rubbish! You should never have done that. And if anybody understands the realm of spirituality, nothing could have been more wicked an act than to take the sovereignty, even if you don't deal in matters of spirituality, the sovereign elements. And I see Caswell's in the back room, and I'm going to bring it. Caswell, you ready to come and give me a thumbs up there? Because I might need your help, because you're the person I heard. Good evening, sir. Wonderful to have you. I'm going to come back and give you a chance to greet the people. But you remember you mentioned about how important these national symbols are, and you talked about the quality and the value of the flag, and how you're not supposed to even use it particular ways, and you're going to, as the leader, Caswell, as the leader of the country, you're going to take my national flag and bury it in a grave? What message are you sending, even if we did not accept and believe in any of the spirituality matters? What message are you sending to your people when you take our national sovereign symbol and bury it in a grave? The only thing I know, Caswell, we bury in a grave is the dead. What are you saying about my country? Is it that my country is dead? And if it is, it's probably dead because the leadership is dead. I don't know. I'm going to bring you in, Caswell. Good evening. It's such a pleasure to have you. I think I'm bringing you in a little early, but that's all right. I'm going to leave you to make your opening comments. It was a pleasure to share yesterday with you and so many others. We had a great evening, I thought. I'll leave you to make your comments with regards to that. But good evening to you, loyal opposition. Welcome, Mr. Caswell Franklin, please. General Franklin, as he joins us. Good evening, Caswell. Good evening.
Good evening, Freddie. Thank you very much for your warm welcome, and I'm always very happy to be here. You noticed that you said that I was in a little early. Well, that's called excitement. I was excited. I was holding on, but 7:30 took a long time to come, so I decided, well, let me come on now because I'm excited to be with my people. Last night, I was so happy to be with you all. Those who turned out, I had a great reception from them, and I think we should do it again and again and again and again, because you see, when we are here, you are your home, I'm in my Marcy's and hers, Maxine's and hers, but we have a bond. Now I want to have that similar bond with the people that we share with every night. It's important. I don't think what I'm doing lightly. I'm very honored and humbled. But some of the things that people tell me, and I see people who I've always respected and who I admired, and when they come over to tell me things, I say, well, that's how they feel about you,
Yes.
So I'm truly honored. That's what I'm telling you, the excitement to get here, because I was telling you it's taking too long. I couldn't wait any longer. So good night, everybody, and I'm happy that you were here to hear us tonight again. Thanks, Freddie. I will chime back in when you're ready for me.
Yeah, well, you can always add to the comments I'm making, because I was just treating,
okay then, because you were talking about flag etiquette.
Yes.
You see, the flag is the symbol of the nation. As a matter of fact, in the old days when you had the kings and everybody fighting wars in the battlefield in France and stuff, it was a serious offense to let your flag touch the ground. The flag should not touch the ground. You would see, and there was a guy who actually, if you look at the old movies and stuff, a guy would be walking with the flag. He didn't have a gun, didn't have anything. All he had was to protect that flag, walk with that flag.
Yes.
Because the flag was the symbol. When that flag fell,
that was troops,
it. Yeah, when somebody would pick it up. If nobody would pick it up, you lost the war, you lost the battle.
That's right. But imagine, Caswell, if that happened when the flag fell, all right? And then somebody goes and takes it and puts it in a grave. Right? Because I thought from the movies I have watched, when that flag falls, somebody goes and grabs that and pushes it up in the air.
Puts it back in the air, because that is the symbol. That is the army marches to its flag. You protect the flag. That's the symbol of your country, and that is what we have as well. We have that is our symbol, our national emblem. It's a symbol of this country, and you don't desecrate it, because what they did was called desecration.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, somebody would have been executed for that, but you don't execute people now, and I wouldn't want you to just be dropping the flag, but it comes from a long tradition where the flag was important. We have an Act of Parliament, National Emblems Act, that tells, and the regulations made under, but you have to handle the flag in such a way, like, for instance, if you see a flag flying upside down, that person is in distress. That person wants help. If you see a boat out there and the flag is flying upside down, that boat won't help, he's adrift or something, so he's asking for help. You know, the flag has, so you can't have a flag upside down, you can't have a flag that is torn. A flag that is torn is supposed to be taken down and disposed of, and not in the garbage. You burn it in a discreet manner. You don't call a bonfire and put it on it, you know. If you remember when the Americans and the Iranians were at war, to get the Americans really angry, the Iranians would put the flag on the ground and drag it behind, you know, and drag the American flag. That's an offense to every soldier who represents his country, who fights for his country. It's an offense to every loyal and patriot. You know, you don't desecrate the flag. It's an insult. And what they did took our flag and insulted this country. You know,
and could you imagine then? Yeah, sorry. Could you imagine then one of the soldiers, one of the American soldiers, taking the flag and doing that with it? Could you imagine what would happen?
He would spend some time in jail.
He would be jailed, or he would be shot.
No, you don't. You don't get so extreme.
They don't shoot you. Okay. So you probably
don't shoot anymore, but you would be jailed.
But I think it's a very serious matter, Caswell. I mean, I think people have just pushed it aside, you know. But I think it's a very, very serious matter, especially when you take our sovereign symbol. It's a symbol of our sovereignty, is it not?
It is, you know. And then for instance, some Lemil is here making a point about some person using the flag inappropriately some years ago. I do not remember that specific incident.
I can't remember either.
But I can tell you,
maybe you
that,
do. Thank you.
You know, like, I see it being the best, like all these crop over events, because these crop over events, it has become more ridiculous as time go on. I see people with a flag passing it through the seat, you know, and dancing with it and that kind of nonsense thing. That's an offense. It is a serious offense, and I'm surprised that police officers are standing on in the stadium and seeing this thing happen. I'm going to take them off because they might feel, oh, somebody might boo them or something. No, it's a very serious insult to the country. When you take a flag and you put it through your seat and you dance with it, you should not. Look, even flying the flag. You know, I see people got it on the car and car seat covers and all kind of stuff. You don't do that. You know,
and I see them
make a
bandana or something like that.
Yeah, you don't do that. You know, and the government. But if the government debases the flag, what do you expect?
Exactly.
I tell people government should lead by example. You know, that is why I'm in a battle now with the government, but leading by example, because even though I'm going to segue a little bit. The government is insisting that members of security forces, police, customs, immigration, and people who work at the airport in certain areas should take a lie detector test. They met with me some years ago on this matter, and I said, I have no difficulty with lie detector tests if the cabinet sets the example and do it first. But you know, the cabinet would never, they refuse to take a lie detector test, but they're insisting.
But that's, you know, we call that though. You know, we call that in the religious circles.
I call it
hypocrisy. Yeah, that's what you call it. You know, and a hypocrite. I understand that the basic definition of a hypocrite is an actor. In other words, a person who's portraying something that they are not. If you follow. But you know, Sonia Perch makes a very valid point here. When soldiers died, and I've seen it so many times on CNN and ABC, CNBC, and all the other lion medias in the States. Anyhow, you know, where you see the bodies of soldiers in the war brought back, and the flag is draped to them. And you know, one of the things I've always admired, you know, Caswell, is at the internment. You know, where the flag is taken. I don't know if you've ever seen how they take the flag. They put the four soldiers, I think, in the four corners of the flag. And the way it is folded so meticulously, so specifically, there is such a respect And I saw a comment earlier about Black Lives Matter, people trampling on the flag and whatnot. Well, I'm going to just let that pass because there's a stupidity that exists in the United States of America today that I don't want to get into in the context of this program tonight. But, Caswell, when I look at how much meticulous effort and how much care, I don't know if you observe how they do it, and then they take it and they so respectfully place it in the hands of the widow or the family or whatever, and I really must say that when leadership and the thing is that leadership, everything that leadership does makes its way into society. I think it's the 33rd Psalm. I stand to be corrected, but anyhow, it talks about, and I think one night you had mentioned it, or somebody had mentioned it, about the oil that comes down Aaron, the anointing of Aaron when he was the high priest. The anointing oil was poured on his head, and it came down his beard and went all the way down at his thing. So, those attitudes filter down. And when I observe the comment, Caswell, that was made by the Prime Minister during the close, her address to the close of Trade Winds 2024, where she is suggesting, and I want to be sure I don't misquote. I can only quote what the Barbados Today carries, and it says, "Young men and women, in my view, ought to be exposed in the context of cadets, service clubs, and scouts because they must know how to handle tools with respect." And of course, she's treating to the whole aspect of young people and them being taught not only the importance of national service, but how to handle guns with respect. And I said, I thought to myself for a moment, is this lady insane? You are going to try to teach youth when at a point of hormonal racing, at a point of irrationality, no sense of accountability, responsibility, how to manage a gun. And I'm saying, okay, if you're going to do that, let them go into the cadets, where they don't only learn how to handle a gun, Caswell, but they learn discipline. They learn discipline. I believe that we live in one of the most ill-disciplined experiences and expressions of the Barbadian society I've ever seen.
I must agree with you.
You must agree or disagree.
I must agree.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I myself was a soldier. I started as a cadet at Commonwealth School.
I was in for a year.
Well, I spent a lot of time there. I grew up in the cadets. I went in to
learn how to use the 303
and the value of it. You see,
Yeah.
so you don't develop one segment of a person. In the cadets,
Correct.
you develop the entire body. I'll give you an example. I was a father of three children at the time. I have four now, but I had three, and I went into a restaurant, and I was leaning up on the counter, and like a man had walked in, and I, just like, he was my commanding officer in the cadets, so mind you, I told you I was a father of three children at that point in time. I'm not a little boy at school anymore, but I was standing up and leaning on the counter, and when I saw him, I straightened up, and I caught myself, but I was stressing our, the discipline and the respect that you learn, and it stays with you. So you don't like, for instance, I used to be a good shot in those days, but I have never had the urge to kill anybody. Not with a gun, but not with a knife, not with a rock, because we are also taught the value of human life. And if you're going to shoot somebody, you shoot them in self-defense or defense your country or in defense of others. But you can't teach young people just how to shoot. If you're going to shoot everybody, because you have to, you can't just teach people how to shoot. You got to teach them the responsibility. They have a responsibility for that, because the gun is a very dangerous thing.
But Caswell, even to get a gun license in Barbados, you have to go through so many checks and balances.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
What happens?
Really?
What happens? If you want one, you gotta go through the checks and balances. Not if you're a BLP fella and you got a friend out there, and the commission says no, you appeal to the minister, you get it. That's what's happened.
No.
That's what's happened in the law.
No,
that is what has happened in the law as we have gone through. This has been so for a while. You'll be surprised to see the commissioner of police saying to people, "No, I'm very sorry, but you're not entitled to have a gun about this." You appeal to the minister, and that's another point I want to come to. these ministers take too much power unto themselves because they have no expert. A lot of them don't have any expertise in the area that they're being minister of, but because they have power, they abuse it. And as a result, you got all kind of mad people walking about the place with guns and let you know they have them. You know?
Yes.
One time a fellow who had a gun used to be discreet, but he had a gun. There had to be some there. No? You got
is any Tom, Dick, and Harry?
Anybody walking about with a gun, go to the minister.
But listen to this statement, Caswell, from the Prime Minister. Listen to this statement, because the Chinese Communist Party recently met with the members of the Barbados Labour Party at Roebuck Street. Listen to this statement, Caswell, and tell me what you think. And loyal opposition, tell me what you think. And I quote, "A time will come when it will not only be the men and women in uniform who will be required to be called into service, but it will actually be the people of the nation who must stand up to the call more likely than not, especially in circumstances of small island states whose capacity to survive can be obliterated within a few hours in the context of a hurricane." Well, I am very sorry. I don't think that statement is being made in the context of a hurricane at all. I think
that doesn't make sense.
That statement is not being. I mean, you have people who are called up to service. We're getting ready, in terms of my organization I'm associated with, to do something called disaster management, to train people in disaster management so that they can assist in the event of something like a hurricane. But when a leader makes a statement like that, and you hear another young man get up in one of their meetings and talk about how they have to implement things to protect their ministers, and you hear a parliamentarian who is the leader of one of the largest workers' unions in Barbados get up in Parliament and talk about how protests and these kind of things are undermining democracy, tyranny, and anarchy, then I am left to conclude on the basis of that statement that you are preparing, or you want to prepare, something like the Tonton Macoutes in Haiti, that will go around and intimidate any opposition that you have, because they're going to be legally armed by the government. And so these are very serious statements, I find, being made by a reckless statement, I should say, being made by a leader of a country. And it ought to concern every single Barbadian when you hear these kind of pronouncements being made. I agree, a gun is a tool. She said it doesn't walk, or even with AI, it doesn't even talk. Therefore, it comes back to the basic integrity of the individuals in our society to determine how to treat members with respect. But that becomes a problem when those persons are driven by the protective dialogue and protective jargon of a political party that does not have the capability to accept criticism. And therein lies the problem. Now, Mr. Caswell, is 7:38, so legally, legitimately, I am into your time by 8 minutes.
But I don't mind you getting my time when you're talking things I want to hear.
Let me let you go, man.
I don't mind you, as I said, I don't mind you getting into my time when you're talking things I want to hear. And I want to hear, but I'm interested in what you're saying, because what you're saying, we are all for it with what you're saying, Because Barbados has no need for an army. I used to be a soldier, mind you, and I thought that was one of the greatest things. I was a little boy growing up, and I wanted to be the first I wanted to be was a soldier, When I was in school, I was a cadet, and I figured so when the Defense Force came about the thing, I was one of the first people in. The problem there is that when you grow up and you develop, you realize that there's absolutely no need for Defense Force in Barbados. We had a Barbados regiment, which was a parade army, ceremonial army. You do independence parade, you had a little fun, you had a little training, they taught you how to do disaster management. And I think that was enough. Now we have a Defense Force here that getting embroiled and all kind of nonsense. Right? For instance, hospital does not have equipment, but you give it the QH up to the QH doesn't have equipment, but you give it the Defense Force, and then Defense Force has to lend it to the hospital when the hospital got X-rays and all kind of nonsense. You don't need a Defense Force so well equipped, right? Because there ain't nobody going to attack Barbados and take out this country. If you have an army, let's say the Americans are going to attack Barbados, 2 platoons of Marines, not even 1, and Barbados wipe out.
I don't think they need a platoon. A platoon casual, send a couple of F-18s or
No,
F-14s over the
I just
island
don't,
and it done.
not even the material. I'm talking about the Marines with a platoon of Marines will wipe out their defense force.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the NASA and they're spending more and more money on the defense force because they want to control Barbados. The defense force is not about fighting protect our borders, you know. It's fighting to make sure that Barbados stay quiet. That we don't stand up, we don't speak up, because when the defense force was first formed, they were talking about aid the civil power, you know, but you will call it defense force, instances like that. When the police has lost control of the situation, but they still be under the command of the police, right? You will be assisting the police. That was the role given even to the Barbados regiment when because we did training for rats and all kind of stuff like that. And that is all you needed. Now you have a large army. I even see them now, the Americans, when they were delivering the equipment from China, they even give us water cannon. You know what water cannon is? When you see people, there's so many soldiers knocking you down with these things like a height, big holes, water cannon. What do we want water cannon for? What you preparing for? You preparing
You're preparing for a
to
movement
let down buildings with water cannon. And all kind of fancy equipment. Because let me do something. People might say, oh, we need an army. There are several countries in the world that do not have an army. Even wrong us, right? And I can name a few for you just in case people think I'm making sport, right? St. Lucia doesn't have an army. Grenada doesn't have an army. Costa Rica doesn't have an army. Mauritius doesn't have an army. Panama does not have one, right? Iceland does not have an army. The Solomon Islands, Samoa, I mentioned St. Lucia already. Marshall Islands, Liechtenstein, Dominica. These don't have armies. Because what a lot of them have is might be a unit in the police force that will handle army type things. That will save $40 million when the year come if we just don't have all this sort of one. But for instance, what to do? We don't have enough policemen. Right? Barbados need more policemen. So deploy them as police. We train them as police officers so that they can go out there, and then the police won't be out there scrambling about looking for them. Because let me do something. All they do, shine boots and look pretty when the day come, because there's nothing really for them to do. You gotta look around, find things. But you have a lot of crime and criminals about the place, to the extent that the Governor General every 6 months used to, I don't know if they still do it now because they don't get the official gazette anymore, always sign an order to deploy the defense force every year. Then you get the Governor General was signing an order deploying the defense force. You don't know that all these years going back for years, that the defense force was called up to assist the police for years. And I'm saying, but look, if you are deployed to assist the police, why don't you increase the police? You don't got to put the provisional things in place, and you don't need the army to do what? You know, what will the army do? Who's going to attack us that we can resist? Russia?
Yes.
Because they see me telling Putin, get out
of Ukraine.
Ukraine, you know, and she finger at him, you know. So what she's going to do? Go and attack?
But I mean, you would have been around Caswell. I mean, pardon it might sound ridiculous, but you were around when Grenada. Remember when they had the situation with Grenada, and we had to call on the United States, and also we remember that Grenada had Cuban assistance on the ground in Grenada. You remember when those Black Ops went in, thinking that there was a walkover, and they took out those Black Hawk helicopters and whatnot, you know, like nothing. You know, so if it wasn't for the United States, we would have had a communist airport and everything right on our doorsteps. I don't know if you recall that.
But we wouldn't be able to defend it.
No.
You know, again, I remember when St. Vincent had some problems. We sent down soldiers from Barbados. Only one Barbadian soldier fired a shot. He was playing around, playing fool with the weapon, and went off. You know, we gotta be serious.
Yes,
We are
yes.
wasting too much money that could help house the homeless, instead of just telling a homeless fella to move. You're homeless. You don't got nowhere to go, and so you tell him move, you find some place. If he could have found some place, he would not have been there. So use that money to find some place for them.
But what did they do with the? I think it was over the weekend or sometime very recently that they did something with the homeless there on the financial building in Bridgetown.
They told them sometime previously to move, but to move where? So they couldn't just move, and they just turn up a garbage truck and police and load up the people's stuff.
Oh wow!
And one guy who had gone to get a bath, when he came back, everything he had in the world was gone.
Oh, wow!
You know, they didn't even wait the fella come back. They just tossed in the truck because World Cup coming, and thanks for
And
World
they're
Cup
trying to
because
get rid of all of them pictures.
right? But I tell you something, they don't want people to see that side of Barbados, that they don't exist. Just like the potholes that you were falling in again, and rod ends be falling so, because you
Yeah,
remember
rod
our
ends
cars,
and rims and
and
shock absorbers and all that.
and mashed up tires, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden now they want to pay up every road, and they're going to pay up all the roads that they take that the visitors would travel on. So right now, you remember coming down from Oystins to Bridgetown, that road I used to avoid it because it was so bad.
Yes, it was
No,
horrible.
no, they got as far as the
I guess first Kentucky, just above Kentucky, I think, isn't it? No,
no,
just up by the
they're even
Crockett
further
Heights.
down. No, they're further down because it's just after get by the defense force, the road is still
No,
dug up.
no.
No,
Oh,
there's still
dug
some
up. Yeah.
pocket. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
still
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah, yeah,
pockets.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
The paving only get as far as Graham Hall, I think, somewhere in that area.
no,
Graham
they
Hall
came down a
coming
little
down.
further, man. They
Yeah.
came down a little further. Yeah, they're a lot of
Okay.
way down now.
Okay.
Because I came down that way yesterday, because I dropped my wife to go to the fun
Right.
walk, or
Right.
whatever you call it. So I
hmm
came back down that road, and it's only when I got by the defense force that I had difficulty then going into the where they dug up the road. But they've done it so fast now, you
hmm
know, because they think that Barbados should not be good for Barbadians. They don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
any respect for us.
They seem to only ever. You remember when who it was Prince Charles or somebody was coming here and the pay of all Gemets, not Gemets Lane, was the road coming up there by the old Globe now, um, coming up to Government House, Tweedside
Go back
Road,
to Speyside Road.
Tweedside. The pay
That
of all up through there.
even White Park Road, like to go by court because they paved that. Just paved the ones. It was Prince Andrew or Prince somebody else.
Some
It wasn't,
royalty. Yeah. Yeah.
and they just come and pave the roads, and those roads go on the pavement all the time. But they're not.
But
See,
then
we have no respect for Barbadians. This government has no respect for Barbadians. And Barbadians give them more than any other government has received, and they treat Barbadians like dirt. And I think you know what I feel when Barbadians look at the government that they voted for. When they in anticipation, it's like having let me see, a ripe juicy apple, and you take a good bite into it. And then when you go and go to take a second, but you see half of a worm. That's what this government is like. You see the half of the worm now sticking out of the apple.
or it's like my mango is you take a nice juicy bite and then when you get the seed you find it spoil.
But it's a good thing,
But it's sweet. I
So
tell you.
it is like that. Your first impressions, you give your first impression, people felt good about them, and then they turn around and devastate this country. It is so awful. Freddie, before I get
Yeah, because we in another 10 minutes we're gonna be bringing in Mr. Knott. So let
because
me get
I wanted
these
to talk
last few
about
minutes here
a
too.
couple of things, and I made some notes just to make sure that I don't go too far off track.
Well, I take
We
responsibility
want to
for
talk about the
taking in
prison,
your time.
about the thing with the prison. A lot of people, I disclosed the fact that they gave a senior prison officer around $50,000 to do a program for prisoners. But it came out in the Sunday Sun yesterday.
Yeah.
People thought I was making sport. Where get nonsense from? Well, they see it now in print. So I hope at least they will believe the nation. And I can tell you why they did that. This has nothing to do with rehabilitating prisoners. You got enough organizations doing that already. So you don't really need a prison officer who will have to be breaking the law to do something like this. Because as I said to you, associating with prisoners in Barbados it is so ridiculous now that you can be charged with turning up at the same party with a prison officer, with an ex-prisoner. You buy tickets, and the tickets are sale online, and you buy one, and you're an ex-prisoner. You come there, you prison officer at that function would have committed an offense. I'm representing two such persons now, right? So if you can't even turn up at a party, be at a party, and the prisoners turn up, what makes you feel like you should be getting involved and getting government money to breach the law? But it had nothing to do with that, you know. It has something to do with the fact that in 1982, Tom Adams decided that the prison officers should not be in a union because they were mostly members of the NUPW. I remember that quite well because I had a lot of colleagues who were in the prison officers division of the NUPW at the time. And when that piece of legislation, the President's Amendment Act, I think it was 1982, came in, that outlawed being in the unions for prison officers. And as a matter of fact, if you're associated with a union, if you accept the services of a union, like for instance, the unions had medical insurance. So let's say you say about the union medical insurance is better than most other medical insurance because it was a group and had a lot of people in the group, so you pay less. And you get the same benefits as a fellow who might got 40 people in their group. Because the union had a couple of thousand. So you know the premiums would have come down based on the numbers. So if you try to access that, you would have committed an offense and you could have lost your pension and lost your job. They made it so draconian. And for years, I fought that. Whenever I get a chance to speak with prison officers, I explain to them how that is unconstitutional, how it was unconstitutional. And eventually, some of them heard me, and we decided we were going to take it to court. But when we first went to a lawyer to tell me the case and got merit, I said, listen to me, I'm asking you if this case got merit. I ask you to file it. You just go in court and tell them and plead what I tell you, and we're going to be good. Win, lose, or draw, you're going to get paid. So I want you to go. So he actually did that. We went to court and we won the case. Mm-hmm. So the court struck down those amendments that banned prison officers from being in the union, and because the rest of the act was so bad, the Amendment Act was so it cannot exist without the other parts of the thing. So the court struck down the entire piece of legislation, which included the Prison Officers Association. The Prison Officers Association was not even a union or even something close because you couldn't represent the staff, you couldn't go and fight for promotions, you couldn't do anything what unions normally do. It was more like a little tea club. And when the court struck down that, I got an influx of prison officers into Unity Workers Union. And that seems to be a bad thing for the authorities. Mm-hmm. So they were countered by trying to get prison officers to form another union of their own, or to revive the Prison Officers Association that the court says is illegal. They're still trying. As a matter of fact, the guy that gave the money to, he even turns up at C2SAB meetings, say he representing a defunct Prison Officers Association. It does not exist. It doesn't exist in law. It doesn't exist in reality. It doesn't exist anywhere. But so what they're trying to do is to get him, that same man, to form a union and to try to take over from Unity, because Unity is trying to fight for prison officers. I'm going to tell you one of the things that we're fighting for. Prison officers work 12-hour shifts, which is 4 hours every time they work, since during COVID from 2021. I know the government is saying that we're going to give you 8 hours overtime. Mind you, working every day 4 hours overtime, and they're going to give you 8 hours pay for every month that you work. We were complaining about this for the longest time, and now they're coming with a solution that they can give you 8 hours. So they want people who will acquiesce to that type of behavior, but it will not come from Unity Workers Union. So they want to establish a union that will sell out. And they gave that man money to help form that union and take it from the peace program money. But no, they got caught. So they're going to find a way out, because I know the minister ain't going to take no responsibility because he's not the accounting officer. So the whole load going to end up on the permanent secretary back. And rightly so, because they can't be so wimpish and weak when you're getting instructions to breach the rules. They said, no, you can't do that. But you're going to go there and sign off on $150,000 and can't account for it.
Can't account for it.
$95,000 I understand is spent.
Yes.
And nobody can say where this money is gone. It didn't form the union that they were looking for, and it didn't form. It went into the alleged reason for getting the money in the first place. But they want to have people who they can control. This government has bought and paid for unions. And that new union at the prison would have started up with $150,000, but the guy tricked them. He entered in the union. He interested in finances on causes, but of course he talked pretty, and they went out there. They're trying to recruit people not trained in industrial relations, don't have a clue what he's talking about, but he won't form a union. Why? Because everybody in the prison who is opposed to unity, he want to get, and then he want to carry some money. And he has the blessing of the government. That's where we get all this money. So government has to stop trying to control everything in Barbados. They are not supposed to be in charge of everything. You do your piece, I do my piece, and we come together. We have a nice little state. But they want to control, and everything must be in the way they want it done or not at all. If you see the Prime Minister, she's in charge of every ministry in Barbados. If there's an opening at some function, the Prime Minister is there. Open the fish market, Prime Minister is there. She's not the man responsible for fisheries. You know, whatever you open, she is there because her name got to go on the plaque. Because she must be seen as the numero uno.
You have to leave a legacy, Caswell. Yeah, you have to leave a legacy.
I keep saying to you all that Hitler left a legacy too.
Yes, he sure did. And there were no plaques for him.
Legacy doesn't necessarily have to be great.
Yeah.
And what she is doing now is creating a legacy that she's going to destroy Barbados. And everything that she has done so far, I was speaking about it last night. I was showing people that she is destroying this state, and we are sitting down and taking it. Right? Now, this peace program money.
You only got about 3 minutes now here.
All right. Somebody needs to get locked up for that. Mm-hmm. And the prison officer who
I think I saw somebody say something about that.
Got involved should now take off his prison garb, but remain in prison for a long time. Because, you cannot have this level of dishonesty and supported by government. The thing is, it is supported by government. They would rather have stealing and turn a blind eye to it as long as it is achieving the goal that they want to achieve. You gotta be honest. And they refuse to be honest. I understand later on that we're going to talk about cybercrime things, so I am going to.
Yes, we are going to engage that later.
I will deal with that. When that time comes. So yes, because I want to. Hi again, Marcia.
Yes, look who popped up. Look who popped up.
Good night. I'm in the company of great people. What a time to be alive, guys. What a time to be alive. I am in the company of great people. Last night was so tremendous, and I want to thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. Thank you for carrying the whole thing. We were supposed to co-host, but there were so many issues.
Yeah, we had a lot of issues
technically that I had to jump in, and I didn't get to do. But you're made for that. You're made for that.
I will say that at the beginning of the program, I did express apologies for the technical issues we had because we went off stream for some time, and people were at a loss as to what happened. So I did apologize for some of those technical issues, because of the rain and so on. So just so you know.
Yes, thank you so much. And I want to say, Mr. Franklin, it is a joy knowing you, honestly. And
Yes. Yes.
it's a part of my life that, I thank God that I have the joy of knowing you. You came and I said to you, Mr. Franklin, nobody else is here yet. When you go on, you don't have any way. If you speak, you don't have a problem. If you don't speak, you don't have a problem. You go on early. It doesn't, it's a dream working with you. And I want to publicly say that. And
Yes.
you're a good sport. You kept
Thank you.
everything going. And I can come to you and I can ask your opinion on different things, and I appreciate that, because
Absolutely.
you know a lot more than Dave and I would with these kinds of areas, and I would say to Dave, let me go and ask Mr. Franklin. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for staying true. Thank Dr. Ferdinand, that I know we can depend on you, and all the panelists that were there.
Oh,
Kmart came out to
yes.
support.
Yes.
Rose
Rose.
was
Yeah.
out there. I want to thank everybody who I know that Maxine wasn't, Miss McLean wasn't feeling very well, and I know that it's difficult for Mr. Murray to come out at nights and so on. But I know that they were there in spirit, and they, always, what a team that we have. So supportive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
honest to
Tremendous
God, I
team.
want to thank God. I want to thank God for Dave with the technical. Yesterday, he was handling sound. He was trying to deal with the lights. And we do all of this, Mr. Franklin, trying to cut costs. I think going forward, we really need to, because you remember now, people, we had the march the day before, the Saturday, right? So now you're trying to stretch that money that you have now for the roadside parliament, right? So we are doing some of everything. And I want to thank Dave for jumping in and taking over the sound, and everything that he does, and well, and thank to Kathy Weeks.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Kathy comes
yes.
early and helps me to set up the plants, decorate, some of everything. Patricia
And
Evanson, I hope I can say her name. There are others that I can't call your name. There's Keith, and I just called first names because I don't know if I have permission to say their names. Keith Galbiz, that's her. Yeah, that nobody will know
yeah.
who that is. But they come, and their entire family with their son, and they're helping
Yes.
out, and making it happen. At the end, there are people. Paul Gibson, I can call his name, and some others that I can't call their names, who helped us to, Mr. Franklin, to move the chairs and to move everything back. And I told Dr. Ferdinand, I want to take this at a time to say thank you to the people. Thank you to
Yes.
everybody
Yes.
who came out. I want to thank God for NCC. There's a lady there, and I can't mention names, but I know that you might, I don't know if you watch the program. I want to say thank you. And I want to say, people, that can you imagine, Mr. Franklin, if we had given up after we got Oyston's Bay, and then that didn't work, then we got Granny's and that didn't work. What if we had given up on last night?
I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
I don't know how to give up. That's the problem.
And neither do I. I
I
don't know
don't know how to
to
give
either.
up.
And that's the problem with us. And that's the problem with us. We
That
don't.
was
We don't give up.
that was evident from me on Saturday, because I was, in spite of
Yeah,
feeling the way I felt, we
so
fight,
that
we
the
fight.
point, the point I'm making, though,
Yeah.
is that had it not been for this particular public servant, let's put it like that,
Yes.
I want to thank her for that. I want to thank her from NCC for making, trust me, she tried, and we got that place. And you know what, guys, we did not give up, and you guys did not give up. You help us now to share the change of venue. Everybody was sharing, and they
Oh,
came
yes.
out
Oh,
in their
yes.
numbers. Even though we had 3 times we changed the venue, and you were out in your numbers, I have to thank you. And those who came now, and you shook my hand, and you shake my hand and leave something
Oh,
in the hand. Oh my Lord. You all, every time I come out, Mr. Franklin, is something happens for me to cry, or at the point of tears. And it's the people of Barbados. You
yes.
give
Yes.
me that courage. to keep trying and to
keep
keep
going.
going.
Keep going.
And
Keep
you
going.
know, I was saying to somebody today, and I'm gonna say this and shut up, that when at first, you know, when Dave was telling me about the NIS and I wasn't interested, and you know, in coming on to talk about that, I'm like, let me talk about something in Africa. I'm doing nothing with Barbados, because the people, you go out and then they don't support you, you know, you look back, Mr. Franklin, nobody behind you. But I must say that that is not what I'm experiencing. I know, I understand Barbadians, I think, at least to this point.
Mhm.
I understand, Mr. Franklin, the environment that we live in. We are small and everybody knows everybody. And there's sometimes like people are, not that fear is a good thing, but I understand the fear. And I understand that they're helping, they're trying. You know, there are people who will line up there at Cape Shepherd and they see me, Mr. Franklin and Dr. Ferdinand, and they give you a little wink, or they give you a half a smile, you
Yes,
know,
yes,
or
yes,
they
yes.
signal to me to come, and I come and they shake my hand and they slip in a $5, but they can't join the march. I'm understanding Barbadian a bit more, and I feel the support. I think I'm misunderstood, and I think that people are ready for a change of government. They're really, really ready, and we're going to get into talking about that in the end. And I want to say, regardless of what happens, let this be an example to us all, that we don't give up. Because if we had given up that wonderful night, even when the rain came, the people did not move.
That's
They
right.
did
That's
not
right.
move, Mr. Franklin. Rain came down and they did not move. Those who were online, thank you for your patience. And let me again apologize, Dr. Ferdinand, apologize. I want to apologize to you again for the technical issues. Yes, we had some really, really tough situation, because our wonderful Jonathan, who would normally help us, he would take, Mr. Franklin, Jonathan takes like probably it's an eighth of what is supposed to be, because to do a real stream you're talking about $2,500, $3,000, you know. But Jonathan is a young person that we work with and mentor and so on, and he says, okay, we can give him a couple hundreds of dollars, and he comes and he does his stream. But he came by, but he had a job, right? And the man is married with a wife, right? So he has to go and take that job that can pay him whatever, but he's set up for us. And then you know, and then he had to go to his work, and so that is why we were in. And then when the rain came down, Lord, for us, because Dave is focusing on his sound and I'm running around like not knowing what to do. I'm out of my
And
league, and
yes,
we're not doing that again. Jonathan will have to either find a substitute or we cancel the line, because I was sweating bullets. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, because the thing stopped working, you all. But we wanted to try. And then even though we came off, you know, my husband, you know, he said, go back and try again and get the, you know, and we tried and I went and it worked the last time. So I want to just thank everybody. It's a learning experience, and I do apologize. It hurt my heart that you couldn't get to see everything. But John Moore, he was there with his camera and it's recorded. And so you will hear the wonderful speech from Lynette Eastman. You're going to hear her, you hear everybody, Caswell, Lynette, Bongo Lights, help me, Pastor.
Ryan. You had Ryan,
Walter.
Kid Sites. You had the performances by Kid Sites,
Kid Sites. Oh my God.
yes, and of course, the leader of the opposition, Mr. Ralph Oren.
Yes, it was amazing.
Yes,
It was amazing.
amazing. And then some of the little inputs by one or two of the persons who were in the audience. We had a couple of inputs from them as well. You know, so it was an amazing evening.
And we
Amazing
want to
evening.
get more input from the audience. Come prepared. That's
Yes.
a feature of roadside parliament. You know, the feature of it that we must maintain, Mr. Franklin, is having input from the audience. Interaction. That's important. I don't want you to get caught up in what's happening just on the stage.
Yes,
It's really about you. Can we just do that? Come prepared. Even type up a little something. Don't have to be long now. Don't have to be long. A couple minutes,
2
and
minutes.
you share what your thoughts, because it's us. It's about
And
us.
And too, Marcia, even John that came to do the presentation, because the rain
Yes.
was falling during his presentation. And I was just amazed, he just stuck to his guns, kept going in spite of the little technical issues that we had in terms of being able to view and all of that. And so it's really great to have him even back with us tonight, that he can
Yes.
really share with us,
I went behind the screen. I held it because I thought it was going to get blood on me.
And many of you all may not realize it or may not know, but John and I are actually school pals. We went to school together. We came up through Harrison College together, Lower 1A, first, fourth, second, fourth, all the way up through Harrison College together. Really
That's
great
right.
to have you with us tonight.
Well, Mr. Knox, the people, they said, I got messages today, and they said, can Mr. Knox come on and can he share his presentation? People were saying, why did you bring him? It's not appropriate for him to have done it outside. We want to see all, And I said to them, you know what? We wanted to be out there as Barbadians, from all walks of life. And so I was glad that he was out there. Yes, I know it was difficult, but we're here again tonight because we want you to know we're committed to this process. So Mr. John Knox is here. And without further ado, we're going to go straight in it. And who is doing the PowerPoint tonight?
I'm not sure. I mean, I have it set here, but I'm not sure. Dave, can you? I have it there to run on the stage.
I think Dave might be ready. Dave is ready. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Mr. Knox, welcome again to the Marcia Weeks show, sir. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Marcia. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for the opportunity last night to tell my story about what I see in the land. And I'll try and do the same thing tonight, but with better visuals than we had last night.
And sir, I want to just commend you. I want to commend you as a Barbadian for, standing up on behalf of the Barbadian people. I want to commend you, sir, for educating the Barbadian people. And I have been researching on you. You didn't just start this. This has been going on for a while. And I want to say, I personally, as a Barbadian, want to say thank you to you, Mr. John Knox, for the work that you do. And this will always be a platform open for you to come to share with Barbadians. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. Good night, Ferdinand, or Ferdy.
Yeah, good night, John. Yes.
And good night, Caswell. Nice seeing you all again.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. I got involved with the group above where I live. I live at Bannatyne Plantation. And I got involved with them because I saw land. There was a proposal to develop some land, a field that had a first crop in it at Newton. So I went up to find out more about what they were doing because I think we all have an interest, whether we live around the land or not. So if you look at this first slide, I'm looking at an aerial photo of Barbados. Our aerial photos of Barbados have been joined together. And you can see the seams there. They've been joined together and on the computer. And that's the first aerial photography that was done of the island in 1951. It resulted in a 1 in 10,000 map, Ordnance Survey map in 18 sheets. And that's basically the starting point of what I call really accurate. I won't say really accurate because there have been very accurate maps from 1722. So this is a lot more accurate. And now everything is done by satellite. This is done by a plane flying over the land at 6,000 feet. Now satellites will look at it from space and draw maps or figure out what the elevations are. So this area here is the area around Bannatyne. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, not quite in the corner, you'll see Bannatyne Plantation. You'll see Ridge Plantation up sort of middle top. Fair Pilgrim a bit to the left top. That's before it was developed in 1972, from 1972. Then you will see, let's see, that is Searles Plantation out at the right, far away. You can see most of that land is in cane fields, and every one of those fields actually has a name. Might be simple, like 6 acre or 5 acre, but sometimes you get some really good names that date back to the 16 and 1700s. What you see in there also, you're going to see if you look closely, there's not a lot, but you can see Bourne Village, middle left. You can see Edie Village, a little bit further to the east. You can see Small Ridge, just under Edie Village. And if you look down at the bottom, you can see there are 3 tenantries there, small farmers, peasant farmers.
Yeah.
There's one close to Bannatyne Plantation at the bottom, and the one a little bit further east called Cave Hill, and the one a little bit further east again. I think that's on lands of Ridge or Small Ridge, not absolutely sure. I know the land because I grew up here, so I came here when I was 9 years old in 1965, so I know it by bicycle, by foot, by motorcycle. I got around a lot, and I was interested in the land. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It looked like in 1951. If you look at the small farmers, the peasant, what were called peasant farmers in those days, you'll see that they're all growing sugar. If you look closely, they're just like a one family show, small land area. Whereas the plantations that have the resources, the tractors, trailers, and can afford to pay a lot of labor, or at least more labor than they can pay, they're basically have organized their fields in like an open agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see small and large in there, and what you can see is that everybody is doing the same thing. They're basically growing sugar. And that's after the Second World War. Half of the world's sugar production had been destroyed, so there was a huge demand for sugar. So the price was high, and not only was the price was high, but also the demand was high. So anything that could be produced was accepted by England, and it was paid for as at premium price. So the price actually went up by I think it's 10 times in a short period after World War II. And if you think of what you always hear of the 1930s, how rough it was, the price of sugar was really low then. So there's not much of a tax base. And there are no profits to tax. Things are tight. Wages are low. Everything is rough in the 30s and the 20s. I could show you that slide later on, but take it from me for the moment. That's how it was. So a small farmer is basically doing sugar cane because he knows that he can sell it at a premium price. Yeah. It doesn't mean that he's not also doing yams, potatoes, eddos, has a pig or pigs, fowls, and so on. It's almost tiny when you look at it in terms of the land that the houses took up. So if you go to the next slide now, you'll see how it changed between 1951 and present. So this is the same image, but only taken close, more like today. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see a housing development going in at Staple Grove. That was all sugarcane. So that land is blown. A little bit higher up, you'll see Edie Village. Edie Village has basically developed, and you'll see that the houses now take up most of the arable land. And you'll see that at Ridge Meadows, there's a huge, dense, growing housing development going on there, high density. So yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious that that from how it's growing, that the intention is to put all of that land into houses. But there's a problem, and that's really what got my interest in the Bannatyne. What happened at Bannatyne, because that road going from Bannatyne to the ABC Highway now floods and floods badly. So all of the drainage units work in making culverts and drains and so on across that road are don't use are no use. It just gets swamped, and it also swamps the land that the sign was on saying they wanted to change abuse into housing. So my attitude was, there's no way that you can have a house on that land and not get flooded out. So my question was, how come before it wasn't so bad and now it is so bad?
Okay.
And my theory, and I will not find out for sure until the wet season and this heavy rain, but my theory is that the housing, by taking all of the vegetation off the land, that's 50 acres at ridge. So taking all the vegetation off the land, it means that what the vegetation would normally trap and then consume and transpire goes into the land, and drainage works have to be made to get rid of the water, because you can't have that type of flooding with those houses, the density of those houses. So it's about 80% of the rainfall is dealt with by the vegetation. Evaporation and transpiration. That basically sends it back into the atmosphere. So the plantation wells and drainage system, they only have to deal with like 20% of what falls on the land. But as you get rid of the agriculture on the land, and you basically going for this high density housing there, all of a sudden now you have close to 100%. So you've actually multiplied the amount of water that you have to get rid of by drainage by almost a factor of 5. So why I think I was seeing all of the flooding down on the road going to the highway past Bannatyne is because the land up there is a karst environment. There are depressions, there are collapsed caves, and there are sinkholes. So the sinkholes are connected. You can't see the connection. So my theory is that the water is going underground and going and somehow find its way then back above ground between the Ridge Meadows development and the road, and then that causes the flooding. You'll see another out on the right hand side. You'll see that's a quarry up by Searles, up on the right hand side, middle, I would say, yeah. That's a quarry, and that quarry is all to do with the high demand for some reason it must have these houses. How you need the marl from the quarry, and the fact is that quarry is located in a karst setting and at a level where you get good marl. So so what happens? You'll find that if that's at 350 feet above sea level, you'll find other quarries around 350, and there are other levels that you'll find that the quarries are all concentrated at. Okay, next slide. All right. So who lost and who gained? So what I see from that simple example there is the people who lost most access to rented or owned agricultural lands between 51 and now are the peasant farmers. Now, it isn't that they lost it. They basically bought their land, converted it to housing and so on, and got rid of the agriculture. So they can no longer feed themselves. Their successors in title can no longer feed themselves, and they can't feed others. You're left with the agricultural land on the plantations and the few areas that the small farmers have. But what they have become now, for the ones who are renting, what they became is, once they bought their land on the freehold, what's it, tenantry freehold purchase, tenantry freeholders purchasing. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but what they have become is land taxpayers. So if they were renting before and qualified to buy the land at a cheap rate, what they paid a peppercorn rent for, that land is they now pay land tax on a yearly basis to the government.
Okay.
They have no choice but to find a job, because they can no longer have access to agricultural land, because they no longer have access to agricultural land to feed themselves and others. And
right. So, Mr. Knox, can I ask a question just so that,
sure.
Right. So once the land is converted and they now have housing on it, the owners of this land, they are now paying, they're now eligible to pay land tax.
Yeah, once you become once you start to own land in your name or in your company's name or whatever, you start to pay land tax. So if you were renting in the past, that often happened. Perhaps not. I think a lot of people also own land, small holders. If you're renting, you're paying the plantation that you're renting from a small amount of money. Yeah. What was referred to as a peppercorn rent in those days, or when I was young. Anyway, those days are gone. So now you pay land tax, and the government sets the rates. The government values the land, and you pay the tax. So you have to find a way of getting the money to pay the tax, or you're going to lose the land. That was not the case in the past. So, in one way, you have a nice house, you have a mortgage, you have land tax, those are the costs, but you have a nice house, and it's appreciated in value. So you can't really, there's a cost and a benefit. So, you can't really say it's bad, and you can't really say it's good. There's good and bad in it. Yeah. All right, next slide. All right, this is just to show what the flooding looked like in the Bannatyne area. I had a video that was sent to me, and this was sent to me by my friends above. So this was taken in 2023. This type of flooding was not normally seen in that area. So the area where they plan to build the houses would definitely, a lot of the lots would end up with a little river flowing through it. I believe the water is coming up. You see where the pond is? It looks like a pond in the center, close to the center. Right. There is a large suck hole in a field opposite the burying ground. That is called Great Rock, and that's because of the large suck. It's really large. I suspect a lot of the water is coming up there. There are other areas. There are 2 other places I will have to look, but I can't look until the rain falls. So I'll wait till later on in the year and see what's what. And if you go forward, you'll see what it looked like in 2017.
Wow.
Right, that's what it looked like in 2017. Not the exact same view, but yes, there's obviously water. The plans for the development actually took into consideration that there was that water course through the field, but now that water course has expanded considerably because of the high density. Because I think of the high density housing upstream at Ridge Meadows.
Right.
So that's how I got involved here, and first appeared on your program dealing with this aspect of land use, change of use from agriculture to housing. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what I did now is look at other areas. This area is Lower Bernese. The government plans to acquire land. It also plans the land actually is part of Hanson Plantation, which is part of Kingsland, which my mother's estate owns shares in. This, believe it or not, is what that area looks like. So you have the Lower Bernese Road on the right-hand side coming in. You have the Dash Valley Road going out. You've got Highgate Hall Plantation on the left top and factory. So the plantation yard is probably middle left, and the factory, I think, is probably top left. But you can see there's a lot of agriculture going on. Highgate Hall was owned by a fellow called Robert Collymore, I think. He ended up giving it to, or it ended up becoming the property of one of the richest free colored women in Barbados in the 1820s. So she owned the plantation. She had 11 children for him. She owned the plantation. It had 67 slaves. I suspect when you can see the actual change. Now you can see the difference between this area and the area around Bannatyne Ridge in 1951. Yeah. You can see there's a lot. Most of this area is actually farmed by the peasant farmers, not the large plantations. And the actual boundary between that, you can see in there's some fields like from the center on, large fields that you can see there. That is plantation land. The rest used to belong to Highgate Hall Plantation because Highgate Hall bounded on Hanson Plantation. So you're probably going to find that a lot of the people that farm that land are descendants of slaves that were on the plantation, or perhaps the descendants of her name was Amaryllis Collymore. She had 11 children. So you can imagine they had a lot of children too. So you'll probably find that her descendants are farming that land in 1951, and also descendants of slaves. And any other person who probably was able to buy land, because the 1930s were tough times, and people had to dispose of their assets. So what if you had cash, you could buy land. If you didn't have cash, you couldn't buy land. You had to rent land and try and feed yourself and others.
Yes.
So if you go to the next slide, any questions on that? Have I said anything? Okay, that is the same area today. Difficult to believe that you can see Sky Mall there in the left-hand, like center area. You cannot believe that this is how much that land has changed.
Right.
You can see the playing field at Dash Valley with the cricket pitch. Sorry, is that dog troubling you? So you can see, I have a dog that's barking. She's not.
Yes, I hear her. She's trying to calm down now.
Okay, so it's amazing how much the land has changed. So that's good. That's perfectly good agricultural land has been changed to housing.
Yes.
Through the years. So that's a big change over there. But it gets more interesting out because we saw drainage was a problem when you change the housing. But there's another aspect I want to show you, and that is heritage. So if you go to the next slide, I'll show you what's what. Now, the plantations at Hanson have actual names. So the playing field was Batson, and if you look on an old map from 1700s, you'll find a family called Batson owned that area. You'll see the heritage in the names. That one that I have is black is actually called Garden Field. garden fields on most plantations. We're not on all plantations. We're on many, but we're on many plantations, and that garden field is usually where the plantation burials happen. So you
Oh,
can see you've converted that field into housing, um, with no consideration for the graves that are more than likely that were because been moved with the earth to please. so
exactly.
so
So, Mr. Knox, so where
yeah.
we're seeing the green are where that you're saying the issue of heritage. So you've just dealt with the issue of drainage. I know the issue of heritage. It's a green section. You're saying these might have been this was where the enslaved was buried, and also Quakers and so on.
No, I'm saying the actual heritage is in the plantation fields. So, for example, I'm saying that the field called Garden Field was more than likely the burying ground on the plantation where everybody got
Ah,
buried, right? So they have other names like Hog Pen and Bottom Field. Bottom Field flooded, so there's a bottom in Bottom Field, and from the time they put houses there, they had complaints with flooding. If you look a little bit to the east, you will see Lower Negro Yard and Upper Negro Yard. That's where slaves live or enslaved live. You see Lower Millfield and Upper Millfield. The area that I have not colored green was the plantation yard. So that's where you would have the mill. So the mill would have been just to the west of Lower Millfield. So you have a lot of heritage inside of a plantation. When you decide you're going to change a field from agriculture to housing, you have to realize that there is a chance that you're probably desecrating our ancestors' graves. So it actually is in a way not it. It doesn't look good to be desecrating their graves and at the
correct.
same time calling for reparations for their suffering. So that does not make sense. So definitely more thought needs to be put into changing the use of land than before it becomes abuse of the land. All right, next field. Sorry, that dog is just won't keep quiet. She thinks there's a monkey outside. But at this time, the monkeys are not out. So if you go to the next slide. All right, so that is just basically showing what the fields look like with the houses now on them. So you have the garden field, which is dark, and
Yeah.
you can see through, and you can see the houses that have been put there. So there's no question that if anybody was buried in there, their remains are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyway, you can also see on the east, on the right side, you can see the fields that were there, and today they're not being used as agriculture. It doesn't mean that they're not good agricultural land. It just means that they've been left to run idle. So,
Yes.
but the lands are perfectly good agricultural land and can easily be brought not easily, but can be brought back into cultivation.
Yes.
You can see, if you look on the left hand side, you'll see like a burnt area, and it's not much houses in there at all. That was a small plantation called Monk Friendship. As you see Friendship, it was a Quaker plantation.
Right. Yes.
So that plantation there, obviously there's some problem that otherwise that would all been gobbled up in houses. So there's some problem there that's preventing that plantation from going into houses, because with the government so crazed on 10,000 houses in however many years, the land is all being used. A lot of it, there's not much left. They have to go into the plantation lands now where the heritage exists and the drainage problems exist.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go forward again, you'll see
For the
something
next
else.
slide.
Next slide. So if I looked at St. George, right, and I said, okay, looking at the heritage aspect, and looking for the garden fields in St. George, you'll see that their garden fields spread throughout throughout St. George. Now let me see if I can explain. You see the gully coming down through the center, where that gully passes to the west. No, sorry, it passes to the west of Kendall Plantation. So what you're looking at is the monk down in the bottom left. You're looking at Drax Hall. Did you know that the Drax family was Quaker? I didn't until pretty recently, but they were Quaker. And so was the Codrington too, and they were married into one another. Both were Quakers, or if you like, evangelical Christians, and both of them had plantations in Barbados. A little bit higher up, you'll see the garden field at Woodland. You'll see the garden field at Henley, a little higher up, and then at Todd's. The Todd's were definitely Quakers. If you go to the Quaker burying ground and you read the book that Monica Newlands, the pamphlet it's a small booklet that Monica Newlands wrote on that when that was cleared up. She took photographs of some of the coffins, and one of them has on the name Benjamin Todd Jones, and that's the Todd family that gave Todd's its name. It then became owned by Joneses and Battines, who was the John Todd's children. His daughters married Joneses and so on. They have another burial ground up by Uplands Plantation, Uplands Factory.
Okay.
All over you've got, as I said, John, now you've got up at Guinea, Cliff, all over their burying grounds, because in those days, there's no refrigeration, there's no undertaking to refrigerate the body and preserve it before it decomposed. So you were buried in the most convenient place, and the Quakers chose fields and they named them garden fields, again because of their belief in the Bible. Garden is a pretty important concept in the Bible. If you look, you'll also see the karst environment. You see the depressions there as well. So all over in Barbados, it isn't. I won't say all over. It depends on a lot of geological things, but definitely St. John and St. George in that area, you can see a lot of depressions. If you come forward again. This is what I've taken the island and tried to map out the locations of the garden fields around the island, and they're all over. Every single parish has them in the same principle, and that's not even all, because I think I've dealt with maybe half or maybe 60% of the fields that I actually have access to, the maps I have access to. So you have burying grounds, Quaker burying grounds all over in Barbados. So when you go digging up to develop the land, you're probably, if you haven't done your homework, you're probably throwing a lot of old bones out. So like Coverley Gardens, Coverley villages, that's basically obliterated the garden fields and the vault field. Sheraton is built on a garden piece. All over Barbados, you'll have those examples happening. But that's how it's happened. That's how it works. If you go forward another slide. Okay, I'm gonna just do a couple of another St. George area, just to show you how the character of the land has changed between 1951 and now. This is St. George. So bottom left is Constant. Bottom middle is Buckley Factory. Then you've got on the right hand side, you have Bottles and then Brighton. You can see the small farmers. They take up a sizable part of that area. And you can see everybody is into sugar. Everywhere in Barbados, people grew sugar at that time. Everybody did the same thing. Okay, so if you go forward another slide, that's what it looks like today. A jumble. A lot of the fields still remain in agriculture, but the peasant farmers really are no longer there. They're basically, that's all housing developments and so on. So but perfectly good agricultural land. It was perfectly good agricultural land, and it worked for centuries. But that's, again, as I say, that's how the cookie crumbles. If you go forward another one, I'll show you another area in St. George. This is the cottage area. So the center is cottage plantations. Again, you can see the peasant farmers all around, the small farmers. They owned land, they rented land, they farmed land. They fed themselves, fed others. They were into agriculture in a big way. They grew sugar mostly, but also other crops as well. So you can see what the fields look like in 1951, the aerial photo. If you come forward again, you see how it's changed. You see what's happened at Cottage. Most of it, there's still fields out there, Cottage and Golden Ridge, but really and truly, the land that was used by the small farmers to feed themselves and others and get a few dollars for themselves, that's gone. It's now houses, taxes, mortgages. We've moved forward. So that's what's happened. So we've given up that independence for higher, we say a higher standard of living. But sometimes I wonder if that really is higher. If you go forward again, this is Hopewell and St. Thomas. I just see Hopewell as a quicker right away. And let me see if I can show you where Hopewell is. Hopewell is at the bottom, a little bit off center, right? You can see Jack in the Box Gully coming. Right, that's Hopewell there. You can see Jack in the Box Gully coming down past Ashford will be up at the top. There are lots of burials up there. There's out on the right-hand side, you can see Walk Spring Plantation. You can see Hopewell Tenantry just to the north of Hopewell. Then you can see Vaucluse on the left-hand side and Jukes a bit higher up, closer to the top on the left-hand side. You'll see a tenantry out there by Jukes. I mean, not as many small farmers, but a lot of small farmers in that area. And if you come forward and see what the area looks like today, still a lot of it you could get agricultural fields in, but you see the racetrack. You see on the left-hand side, Mount Stinkaroo, or is it called Mount Stinkaroo still? That's on the left-hand side. All that scarring is where the national.
Mr. Knox, let me just say we just have a 10 more minutes.
Okay, I can finish quick. All right, so if you want to skip the next one, if you go to the next, this is what the depressions look like all over in Barbados. Next, this is what the area around here looks like. You can see the ABC highway down there. You can see the karst features, the depressions, and so on, sinkholes. Next, and that was the point I was making earlier about the price of sugar and how it changed. It's from 1900 to 1960 or something like that. You can see in the First World War, you saw a huge spike in price. Second World War, the price just kept going up. it went up by a factor of 10. And that's my presentation. Done.
Wow. This is indeed this is a thank you. This is a history lesson. I am telling you in pictures. Definitely. And I would love to be able to capture this. You know, we're hoping to be able to put it in a documentary form, because I think that this is so vital and important. And you've shown us that where there is we have draining issues, then we have heritage issues as a result of this, trying to get these 10,000 houses built, and so we are using and abusing the land. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts you have on what you've just heard?
Yeah, I watched with interest because I've seen it all around, especially and in St. Thomas in particular, where I grew up. I remember we had Content, Jukes, Farmers, Danscombe, Vaucluse, Portbell. All of those were plantations around, and they were all canes.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't find a cane blade on any one of those. Jukes, they still do agriculture, but they use the yams and sweet potatoes and stuff. They don't get into the sugar cane anymore. And Hortwell has gone into housing to take up. Well, the guy who owns Hortwell also owns Vaucluse now, and Vaucluse has been ever so often they're taking out large tracts of Vaucluse. That where tract that Mr. Knox talked about just now. I dig yams there as a young man. I dig yams. I know we say it is a rare tract, but I used to get some good yams from that ground, you know. And people are not. We are treating Barbados as though food will always come from St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Guyana, and Suriname. A time might come when we might need to plant our own food, and so what they're not doing, they're not supporting our farmers well enough, and because they figure that they will get the usually they take our sheep and carry to Guyana, do all kinds of, because somehow they feel like they want us to be some sort of metropolis.
Yeah,
and we don't have pigs and cows and sheep and stuff. We're going to be like some like downtown Brooklyn or somewhere in New York or Manhattan, and forget or Dubai. But you know, in all those countries, there's a back part that you have agriculture. And we are forgetting that, and we are taking our lands out of agriculture. But when you put cement, I'll give an example. There where you have the Polar Ridge, they put 15 feet of soil in that ground, and to move it out to put those houses down there. It was totally west of good agriculture land. The land was at least 15 feet of soil. And now what you have the 15 feet of soil, then you have a bigger memorial. I see the same thing happen at Corverley.
right.
You remember when they were digging that roundabout at Corverley?
Yes.
You know how deep they went down before they get rocks to build back up their memorial? Because they're taking the good agricultural land and using it. There is land on the fringes of the plantation that was not arable, you know, we used to call them the grass pieces and stuff. Develop them. But you see, it is more difficult and it's more costly. So if you want cheap, you want to do it, you want to make the maximum profit, the least effort. And government has gone about facilitating it. Planning Development Act is one example. Glenn talks about that a lot, you know, but they know it is easier. And the thing is, the chief town planner is just a useless person now, because you don't really got no power, because the minister always makes the decision in the end.
Yeah.
You know, so they're destroying this place, and I'm glad that Ms. Knox had shown the country that what we were like back in 1951, because I wasn't here then. But you know, but it is good to see. But mind you, I was here in 1958 and onwards, and I can tell you Barbados has changed. I remember going in Cameroon and sucking so much can and think, remember the little boy, you know, you're going in middle ground. And when you get up, you know, you should leave when the crop starts now, you see got this big open space in middle ground. That is where we have our fun.
Yeah.
You know?
And everything is changed now. Well, we only have a couple minutes left in this section. Dr. Ferdinand, any quick comments about it? And let me see if I can grab some questions from the audience. Just give a quick comment, please.
Well, really quickly. I mean, John, thank you so much. I mean, it's been tremendous. But I remember Cottage. I lived in Sweet Bottom, St. George. I used to go in the back of my home up between Sweet Bottom and Groves and suck brown skin girls and frozen joys all the way down through to Applewitz, all the way back through Cottage. You know, housing is developing out there right now. There's housing development when you come up from Market Hill up toward Cottage, all on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, all housing. And this is some of the most arable land that we've ever had in Barbados. It just does not make sense. You know, I'm going to be brief on that, Marcy. A lot more I can say, but we do have a lot to cover tonight. So let me just let you move on.
Thank you. Let me just see if I can find any. There was a question from the audience, and I'm not. I should have taken it. I didn't. I haven't seen it. Trying to find it, but the bottom line, I think a lot of us, we are left thinking about the burial site, the burial grounds. I know right there in town where we were, in Cavens Lane, I remember when they did find the bones there, etc., and decided that, you know, they were going to preserve all of that. And these are questions I think, and this is why I'm so happy that you're raising this. We have all of these Pan-African groups in Barbados, and these people who are, you know, black this, black that, and I don't hear them asking the you know, the government about these kinds of things. I don't hear them asking about how do we preserve these burial sites of our ancestors. I don't hear that. And so, Mr. Knox, I think it's a very, very important question that you're asking. We are here talking about reparations, and we're talking about Pan-Africanism and all of these, great things. But I don't hear that questioning that is coming from the Pan-African groups in Barbados. In fact, they're so quiet. So I want to personally just thank you for bringing this, this to our attention. And of course, the whole issue of drainage. So they are basically setting up these people to be flooded, is what is happening. And so that is a very serious issue. Mr. Knox, is there any final words you want to say to us before we go?
On the screen now, what are my views on the development of the East Coast and George River?
Yes, thank you.
I hiked Barbados from 1988 to probably 2008 every single Sunday, sometimes twice a week.
You hike in Barbados. Let's hear 1988 to when?
I don't know, 2008 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was a leader. So I use maps, and I learned a lot about the island. The East Coast was my favorite hunting ground. I stopped hiking because what I saw was happening with Barbados. Just, it was just no longer the same place. So part of the reason I stopped hiking was it's just, changed so much. One of the things I'd say about the Bashable development, where they're digging out that huge area, if you look, you'll see a huge boulder on the on the beach. Mm-hmm. That boulder came from probably up in up as far away as Hackleton's Cliff. When you have heavy rains, the land slips on the Minesy Cliff, and pieces of the cliff come off. So they're actual. So they may be doing this development, but all it needs is a good heavy rain, and it's going to get washed away. So that's how we look at it. That's the only way I can look at it. To me, it's a sin what is actually happening Ibashaba area. I haven't been down there to look at it, but to me, that is just a plain sin. That's too beautiful. And regarding the accuracy of the mapping, Colin Hudson took the aerial photos that I've shown there, gave them work, and with a group of students, they traced on a piece of paper where the actual fields are. So what I have done is I've taken the 1951 aerial photos and referenced them against Google Earth Esri images. So it's accurate. It's absolutely accurate. So when I say absolutely, I mean perhaps the boundaries are not a little bit off, and you measure it and it's a little different and so on. But in terms of location, that's where they are. Palmer's Plantation, I have Palmer's Field list. I cannot remember that particular Negro yard, but most plantations had Negro yards where slaves lived. They also had fields where slaves died, and Quakers and indentured servants.
Yes, wow. You know, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Knox. And as I said, this is a space that you are welcome. And I, for one, I'm very interested in the history. I think we need to be, we're losing a lot of that at this moment. We're not going to be able to recognize this space. I love to hike up at East Coast as well. I've been up there. Well, let me not say I love to hike. I've only hiked there once, but it's one of my favorite spaces. As I'm driving, you know, you look up and it's a beautiful place there in East Coast. I filmed, I made sure I captured it in film as well. So, you know, it's sad to see that it's going. Oh my God, it's sad to see that it's going. And I thank people like you who are making an issue of it. And if I have anything to do with this, we want to put this in a documentary, sir, if you will allow me, so we can show the world what is happening, that what is supposed to be our price of progress that is happening, the drainage issues that these 10,000 houses are is creating, and the heritage issues that we are stomping up and down on the burial grounds of our ancestors without preserving anything. And that is a sad state of affair. Thank you so much, Mr. Knox. God bless.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great to have you, John. God bless. And just very quickly, Marcia, this is one of the reasons that we're getting into this jobby water business, because when you look at the amount of land that used to be rained upon, and that rain would filter through to our aquifers and so on, it's now covered in housing. I don't know if you remember a massive flood they had in Salters by the Chafet some years ago, because they had just blocked up all the waterways and everything in the area. And I think that is one of the aspects that has affected our capability of holding water, because all of those lands, you know, that the rain would have fallen on and all of that would have filtered through, it's now covered in concrete roadways. You know, it can't get through to that.
Yeah. It's and this is our black government, a black government that is doing this. Mr. Franklin, I know that there are some other issues. We want to talk about the cybercrime bill and the lawyers who are now coming forward, and saying some of the things that you were talking about, the magistrate's court versus going to the judge, where the magistrate can determine whether I'm going to get 7 years or pay $70,000, right? These are some of the issues that the Barbados Bar Association, that they have some issues with the cybercrime bill. They're also saying that bill is not going to be able to stand up in court. That piece of law, if they fully pass it, that there will be lots of problems with that cybercrime bill, which is why they just need to repeal the entire thing, go back to the drawing board and get it done correctly. Mr. Franklin, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, the Bar Association, I am saying better late than never. I remember my headmaster used to say when he was going to apply the bamboo, better never late, but they came in. But that is one of the problems that we have with our system right now. Government is supposed to put this legislation out there for people to see.
Yeah.
But when they do it the way they do it, you don't find out until after it's passed. So the Bar Association or other people can't really get a chance to discuss and object to legislation. But that is what is supposed to happen. The rules of the House provide that you would lay the bill and give it a first reading, and then send it for printing at the printery and circulate it in the official gazette.
Yeah.
Right now, you don't have a real official gazette anyhow. They only have it online because they don't have paper. They don't have paper to print it anymore, and the online version doesn't work too good. And as a result, you don't have. But government should really put the legislation out there. Like you always hear Glenn talking about green papers and blue papers and white papers and that kind of stuff, so that people will be able to discuss. Now, the government doesn't know everything. As a matter of fact, they have shown that they don't know much. But there are people in society who are experts in various areas, but the government wants to legislate for people who know better than them.
Yes.
And that is the problem. So no, you will come up on this situation because look, I was making my notes. Right? They just rush through and they don't even think it through properly, because drafting legislation is not like writing an essay at a day at the beach. When you draft legislation, it impacts on other pieces of legislation. You have to check. You have to make sure it is still constitutional. You got to make sure that when you do that it isn't infringing some other piece of legislation. All these things but they have people rushing and doing these things very quickly, even stepping over the head of the Chief Parliamentary Council, because the Chief Parliamentary Council is the officer in the public service that's responsible for drafting our laws. Government have brought in consultants and paid them a lot more money than they're paying the Parliamentary Council to draft legislation, and they're doing it quickly. And as a result, the legislation is bad.
Yeah.
You know, and so what happens? Then the Chief Parliamentary Council then has to go through legislation, but the government want it. So they can't even know go through it and say, but they're going to fix this because the government want it now. The government want it now. And unfortunately, there seems to be no planning. They come up with somebody, or Mia comes back from overseas with some harebrained scheme, and they're rushing to do legislation. Like what you're talking about just now. The judges and the magistrates have the same jurisdiction. You know, and but the difference between a judge and a magistrate is that when you go before a judge, as we know currently, because they're talking about having judge law and trials, I don't like that, but they're talking about judge law and trials. Until such time, you have to have a jury of your peers, and they will sit down and listen to the evidence and decide if you are guilty or not. A judge don't decide if you're guilty, you know. He guides the jury, he explains the law to them, and let them decide on the facts. The judge don't decide on the facts. A magistrate does.
Right.
So now you're going to have a magistrate who is junior to the judge in all aspects, but he will have the same power as a judge, to sentence as a judge, but he decides on facts. There's no jury before magistrate. So when you see what people see in legislation, say on conviction on indictment means indictment's a bill that you write, and that goes before a judge. Summary conviction is before a magistrate. So they are giving you a magistrate the same power to do what a judge and jury does. Something is awfully wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I believe it is unconstitutional, but I'm not going to argue that. But I'm going to leave that for the lawyers to argue. Right? The other aspect of this bill that they still need to fix, I hear them talk, but I don't hear anybody talk about these things and the right now, if you commit the offense in Barbados, and you're in the United States, but you're a Barbadian citizen.
Yes.
And it is an offense in the United States as well, you can be extradited and to face trial here in Barbados for something that you would have done in the States. Now, if it's a crime in the States, why you don't let the United States authorities prosecute?
Mm.
You know, if it's a crime out there, why don't you allow them to prosecute? No, you're going to create an offense and say that if you are in the United States and there's that something is an offense in the United States, we can prosecute you here. So now what that means, if the United States refuses to prosecute you, or the offense is not trivial as far as they're concerned, they won't prosecute. When you come back to look for your grandmother or your grandmother's funeral, they can hold you.
Wow.
Prosecute you here. For something you have done in another jurisdiction. When the United States have these extra territorial laws, everybody's complaining about them, you know, and saying they want to impose their laws on in other countries, shipwright and all kind of stuff they talk about. People complain about it. No Barbados want to do the same thing. So if you're a Barbadian citizen and you commit an offense in the United States that is contrary to our act, and it has some sort of effect in Barbados, they can prosecute you. The thing is, the language is so vague that you can commit an offense without knowing that you're committing an offense, because the language is not specific enough. And so those things need to be fixed. I also, what I want people to, I keep saying this, I want it, because every time I hear somebody saying that,
Mr. Franklin, I wanted to ask a question on the same thing that you just mentioned there, because I heard the leader of the opposition was saying something last night, but I was so busy running up and down, I didn't hear it properly. And I was speaking to someone in the diaspora, and I think it's important for us to clarify this for them. So at the moment, does Barbados have the kind of law that would allow the person in the diaspora, because they're saying now that even if you've committed a crime in the diaspora, right, you will be held liable. And is it that he's saying that they do not have that in place as yet?
No, we don't have that in place as yet.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
they have to amend the Extradition Act stuff by this legislation to give that, to put that into our law. It wasn't there already. Because if you commit an offense in the United States, you get tried out there. We don't have a situation where you commit an offense in the United States, Canada, wherever you are, and but what can be really serious is that sometimes these offenses might be created in a situation where the country is draconian, like China. That was an offense that they can prosecute you in Barbados for it. I don't know how many people we have in China, but it is strange that Barbados want to. I want to be able to prosecute people. That means you're going to come back to Barbados. If you're on a computer system right now, you might not even know that you're committing an offense in Barbados until such time as you get to Barbados and know you got you. And then when you hear you gotta get back to work, when you come to your grandmother's funeral, you hear so gotta get a lawyer and stuff, and if the judge will man you or something, so you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We are overreaching with this legislation.
So So okay. So I think the people in the diaspora, they need to know that. They need to know that it's a fair tactic. Another thing, it's in there, but it's not set up to do that at the moment. All of these structures are not in place. Continue what you were saying, Mr. Franklin.
The other thing that I want to talk about, and every time I hear somebody say, I grit my teeth when they say, "Oh, the parts with child pornography is commendable," and all kind of nonsense. That is a ruse to give this piece of legislation legitimacy, to make people have some sort of feeling for it, because the laws against child pornography are already in there, are already part of the laws of Barbados under the Computer Misuse Act since 2005. So all they're doing now is they're taking them out of the Computer Misuse Act and putting them in this one. So when you see Edmund Hinkson and Abrams get up in the House and try to give the impression that if you oppose this bill, you support in child pornography and all kind of nonsense, That is the farthest thing from the truth. That is so close to lying that you can't make the distinction. Because it is it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they want to play on people's emotions to achieve what they want to do. And what they want to do is to protect themselves from criticism. Because even Section 19, even though I hear Marsha Cattle saying that she's recommended certain changes, until I see those changes in draft, I can keep complaining about them, because Section 19 speaks to if it can cause embarrassment. Okay, there. Some people get embarrassed easily. So how can you have legislation that this, if somebody's embarrassed by something that I say? I might say that Freddie is ugly. Freddie know that ain't true, but he might still get embarrassed by it. And then I type it up on my computer. I'm committing an offense.
Right.
You know, somebody said about me. I ain't gonna say it because I know that's a vicious lie. But then, so why he could get? I'm not offended by that same remark, but he is. So he could get. He could go to the police, and it is not like you are going to pay him any money. You know, for the embarrassment, the government looking for money, because these are criminal offenses, and the fines go into the treasury. So it is not like you think that you're gonna get $70,000 and the fella can get the years and you can get the money. No. The thing about this is if it is if what they said about is defamatory, then you can sue. And then if you have to pay $70,000 before the court, it can be very hard for you to go and look and go and pay the fellow who you defame another set of money that the court orders. Why are you getting it? Why is the government getting involved in private matters? I heard Marsha Cattle saying that we got to protect the people who ain't got the money and that kind of. Since when they're doing that, the people don't but try to build got the money. So why you don't protect them? You know. So I don't. You see, they sound good. They say these things and it sounds nice and rosy and everybody saying kumbaya and all kind of stuff, but it is just deceit, trickery. To get people to buy in on the nonsense that they're doing. If you want to check if what I'm saying is correct, the Computer Misuse Act, Section 13, speaks to child pornography. So it's already there. So it is not something that you have to put in place because there's an urgent need. Because right now, even before the Computer Misuse Act, we had laws against child pornography. Right? So it is not that they're going to put it in place, but that is the motive. That gets people, right? Because you know, a fellow trouble, a child, you know, that's the worst thing that can happen. So you're going to tell people, use that to ease these draconian measures through, and for what purpose?
Yeah.
To protect the government. And this was about, this is what they said, not me. To protect the government, to protect our comrades from criticism. Those were the words that the speaker used at the branch meeting, and he said, "Oh, it's to protect our comrades. They gotta come out and fight for them, all kind of stuff." I can assure you, I would not be here. Marcy would not be here. Freddie would not be here if the government was doing the right thing. We would have nothing to talk about. But we've been talking now since June, and they still got a lot more stuff to talk about. Why? Because everything that they've done incorrectly. Except for one thing, really, and that was the salaries.
Increase in salaries.
And then they put the salaries up. They didn't make a mistake with that. Everything else they make mistakes with. So we have to. I want to say, if you look at the beginning of the act, the bill, you have clause 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, giving people $70,000 in 7 years by a judge and jury. But then further down the act, they then put it off to a magistrate. You want to know why? Magistrates handle minor things that you don't need much. As a matter of fact, we had lay magistrates. They didn't have no law because it just appeared to be wrong. Right? They were not lawyers. I think in some jurisdictions, I think in Ghana, they have lay magistrates. But you really want a judge who knows the law when you're dealing with serious criminal matters. So they are mixing the two, right? Given those things, and why move from judge and jury, and then near the middle of the act, they shift to a magistrate. You want to why? Because you expect that these matters, they're going to be plentiful. There can be a lot of them.
That's what I was wondering.
And magistrates will do them quickly.
Right?
You see,
but look at the screen. That somebody says also money grab. It's all
right. Magistrates will do it quickly. You know, because you don't need a lot in the magistrate's court. The magistrate says, "Don't listen. You don't got the jury out there and panel to hear anything." The magistrate just look on the balance of probabilities. He says, "Well, look, you know, I believe Marcia as opposed to Freddie, so I can take Marcia's evidence. Marcia might be good at convincing him, not that Freddie Freddie lying. It's just that what Marcia believes."
Yeah.
But so, but because they expect so many that they will put it for magistrate. Because, for instance, you don't magistrate deal with like people speeding on the road. You know, if you don't pay for parking, find people paying for that, you're going to go and curse somebody, you know, and call somebody a foolish this and that kind of, you know, magistrates deal with those minor things. But now you're having a situation where you ask magistrates now to judge people on what must be serious criminal matters, because you send a fellow to jail for 7 years. Normally, magistrates don't can't send anybody to jail for more than 3.
Right. That's something that we talk about in the Constitution. But I'll make a point or make a comment after Dr. Ferdinand was trying to make.
I just wanted to point Marcia to the Bar Association's comment with reference to the magistrates in their 54th paragraph. 54 and 55, this is what it says. It is also to be noted that magistrates' court do not have the jurisdiction to hear allegations of defamation, and that under the Jurors Act, defamation is one of the few torts which gives rise to the right to a jury trial at the request of a party. Section 55, they go on to say, Section 19.3 of the bill is open to challenge constitutionally because, first of all, the use of the word embarrassment introduces the subject element of the interpretation of statements by a complainant, which causes a subjective feeling to that person, which is what Caswell was just talking about. Hurt feelings without reputational damage are not protected by the constitutional insulation of laws designed to protect people's reputations. And secondly, the penalty of 7 years imprisonment may only be imposed by an independent court, which for the purposes of the Constitution can only mean the High Court Division of the Supreme Court, because judges of the Supreme Court enjoy constitutional protection of their tenure in office, whereas magistrates do not. And it's hard to believe, Marcia, that with the legal minds that they have available to them, because there's no shortage of accessibility by the Attorney General's office to the legal minds in this country. And as you know, Parliament and many of the aspects of governance involve lawyers. But I have been made to understand, as I was talking with someone last night at the Roadside Parliament, it was a gentleman actually that was involved in the division, Caswell, that deals with the drafting of laws. And he was making the point to me as to how many aspects of drafting they went through before the draft actually gets to Parliament for debate to engage. And the point he was making is that if that had been done on this bill, we would not really be having these discussions right now, because those draft and revisions they would have gone through would have highlighted these areas or would have identified these areas as problematic. So it is clear that, again, Marcia, and pardon me alluding to it, just like the Cayman Airways saga, homework and due diligence has not been thoroughly done on this cybercrime bill. As a result of that, my view is that it needs to be pulled off the table and sent back to the drafters and allow the drafters to review it again.
Yeah. I think that is what you just read there. What we need to do is to take that out, because this is another round of information, and I'm sorry that we're just hearing this. I mean, I think this was a submission that was made by BRA to the Parliament, to the committee that they instituted there, but it wasn't made public. But somehow it became public now, and so this is a serious matter. It's not just people who are just making noise. Mr. Franklin, I saw somebody wrote on my page asking me, did you even ever read the bill? Do you even know what you're talking about? And now that the Bar Association, that's what they do. They assume we don't know anything. The Bar Association has written how many pages? How many pages is it?
Let me tell you, there are 16 pages in total, but 60 paragraphs.
16 pages that the Bar Association, they have written on this, saying that something is wrong. Something is wrong with this. And you're asking me if I read it, and that can't you hear the Prime Minister saying that it's not there to hurt Barbadians? Really? So who is it?
But Marcia, when I review, and I'm going through the reviewing of the Barbados Bar Association's submission, when I go through, as I've started to read it down, and I quoted some of these sections to you just now, these are identically the same things we have been saying, and we are not lawyers. We are not lawyers. We have identified these things as being problematic, to say the least. And their conclusion, actually, Marcia, on the conclusion of their submission, their statement is this: the committee concludes that unless the language in the current draft of the bill is amended, it will inevitably face challenge in the courts. So what you have is a law being placed before us and implemented, signed in by the president, that is going to create problems. We
need it in bullet form so that Barbadians, we're gonna keep on this, Mr. Franklin. We must keep on this, because
but you must remember.
Wrong. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
But you must remember that is exactly what Sir David Simmons is saying that you got to do. Let go to the courts, and then you arguing. No, you make the laws precise enough that you know when you commit an offense. You should not know that you're committing an offense
when it gets to the court
because of an interpretation or somebody, because when it has to go to the judge for the court to decide. That means that the law was not certain. The judge is now given certainty, but you can't draft legislation and expect that it is so bad that you can leave it to the judges to determine. That is stupid, because the legislation is not here to guide only lawyers. It's to guide everybody else. So you're going to wait now until somebody comes to the conclusion, well, this could be against the law, so let me go carry the court. Then for the judge to say no, you make it so precise that you don't need to go to the court, because you already know what it is. But they don't care. They want it. They have put themselves out there and let people tell them what they should be doing to us in Barbados, and they're obeying. They are obeying their master's will. Unfortunately, Bajans don't read enough. That's my thing, People, everything on TikTok or one of those things, most Bajans ain't seeing it, and the government knows this, and they use people's aversion to reading, because they don't give you any education on it. But I've seen people in Parliament saying, "Oh, when the bill is passed, we will explain it." No, you do it before, so people understand where you're going. You put it in the official gazette as a bill. If you remember the old days, when you get the official gazette, you just see something like objects and reasons.
Yes,
those were the bills.
Yep.
So then you had the opportunity to read through them and to have any comments that you're going to make. No, they are passing the laws and then publishing those objects and reasons, which are intended to tell the country, this is the law that the government intends to pass. That's what that does. It's to say, this is what we intend to pass in the House in the next few weeks from now. But they pass them and then put in the official gazette, this is what we intend to pass last week. You know what I mean? So you find out after the fact that the government has put a law in place that is repugnant. And this one, if we didn't speak up, Marcia, honestly, if God, because you don't know how important you are to Barbados. If you
not me, Mr. Franklin, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you see what the nation did, and I've been saying that, there's no time on Saturday anybody said that I was a leader of that march. Nobody.
Not at all. Not at all.
At any point that I remember.
Not at all.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you did not provide this platform.
I know by using it
for us. Because I remember I wanted to start something, but people came and offered, but they had not palatable, the kind of people who wanted to do things with me. And when you spoke to me, I said, Marcia, you got to show. Let me get together. And so that's why I said thank you for that, because if you didn't do this, I might be still there fumbling about with the electrical stuff, electronic stuff, and then because I ain't too good at them kind of thing, I was lazy and I let my children do that. And so I still prefer these,
But Marcia, tonight when we began the program, my focus at the very beginning of the program was the fact that this is a movement, and it is not around a single personality. That's one of the big problems we have in both the media and in the public politics of Barbados. It seems that unless you can identify a person, they want to go after a person. The problem here with the loyal opposition, and I want to repeat this is not about Marcia Weeks. This is not about Caswell Franklin. This is not about Ferdinand Nichols. This is about the loyal opposition, the people of Barbados. It is a movement. And what the nation and the Barbados today and whoever else wants to print or whatever needs to report is that it is a movement. Marcia, at no time, I was for that entire march on Saturday, and at no time did I ever hear a single speaker reference you as the individual. We honored you at the end when we were in Independence Square. We honored you because of the efforts that the show, which you have brought about, the efforts that through the show we have been able to achieve, and we honored you for that. And it's out of place for any media house to attempt to identify you as the leader. You're not the leader of this.
But the Marcia Week show was up and running long before we started. I appeared on the Marcia Week show at least twice before, dealing with other issues. And we only started this thing when the government got really offensive and trying to carry national money, So, and then we kept going, because you keep saying that the government is being offensive and ridiculous every day of their lives. So that's why I say I'm grateful for Marcia, because if Marcia didn't have this in place, I don't know that I would be here. I'd be grumbling and be writing letters to the press. But the letters to the press, most people don't see them because most people don't buy newspapers anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And then I stopped dealing with some of the press because some of their behaviors don't suit me. I actually wanted them to refuse to deal with them because they better treat their staff. I make no balls, and they were supposed to do something about it, but I've not heard any reports from the staff that I still speak with that tell me that things have changed. So until such time, of course I'll read the newspaper because it's free, but I am not going to.
But wasn't there something, Marcia, on
but,
in
the just a minute,
today?
Kimara's come on, and we're kind of gone over in his time, so we'll just make a short comment and then have him on.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Very, very short. I think it was in the Barbados today. I was told over the weekend that some comment was made that the Joint Select Committee has been given extended time. Now they've extended the time in terms of dealing with the cybercrime. The suggestions, not the determinations and the demands. The suggestions to be considered.
Dr. Ferdinand, as far as I'm concerned, that needs to be brought back to the drawing board. Barbadians need to stand up. We are not stupid. We are not stupid. And don't get me started now. We're not stupid, Mr. Franklin. You understand? And here is the Bar Association. Yeah. We have been on the show. We've been ridiculed. We've been called all kinds of names. Right, and here now the Bar Association is coming on board, and people are going to stand up to take attention. But let me tell you something. They need to listen carefully to the people of Barbados. And the way they're going at this thing here, without even a constitution, the new constitution, we're not hearing any talk about it. And I'm telling you, if they don't stop what they're doing, they might have a 1937 on their hands, and they will be the ones to blame for it.
Marcia, they got more time. They got more time for the new constitution as well. They're batting about the players like mad people, and they're running for political force.
Mad.
So they get more time for that as well. So everything I get extend.
Yeah, yes. Thank God for Ralph Thorne and what he's doing. Good night, Kimar. How are you?
Hey, good night, everyone. Good night, Marcia.
Good night,
Caswell, Pastor Ferdinand.
Good to see you.
Yes, same to you, and good night to all of the members of the loyal opposition. By holiday with Monday, we give thanks, always grateful. Happy to be here as usual. Even on your bank holidays, you still have to, get up and go there and stuff. And I don't know, man. I would like a little break, But I'm only going to take a break if these guys do the right thing.
Correct.
That's right.
That is
right. And they just won't do the right thing. They just wouldn't, right? And just when I thought that I've seen enough, I went back down Concept Bay. And I think I mentioned it on the show before. The seaweed machine is gone.
Right? What do you mean it's gone? I mean, because it was there and not being used. So what are you saying now?
It has disappeared, vamooshed, been removed, no longer there. Whatever adjective, adverb, noun, whatever you want to put there is no longer there.
It's probably been beamed up. Timar, it's been beamed up.
Right. This is the same machine that was sitting on there for months, rotting away, Right. And you heard Humphrey, you heard him. They only took out the battery to do some minor repairs, and and it's working and this and that. So explain to me and to Barbadians, if it was there for all of those months, right? How come you found the need to move it? And how come Humphrey didn't say in his press conference that they were moving it? Right? He never said anything about moving it. He said that they were going to repair it on the spot. Y'all saw the video, right? Right? So where's the machine? It isn't working. It's not. Well, this is the first time I know that we had a seaweed season. Free, right? I'm still seeing a lot of seaweed all over Barbados. So it is not working. Right? So where is it?
I'm sorry. Look at the screen, Kima.
You say what?
Well, I didn't say it, Marcia, when I said maybe it was beamed up. That's what I meant. Beam me up, Scotty.
Yes. No. On a more serious note, though.
Yeah.
This law has wasted the most government resources. Like, wasted the most government resources ever. Like, I went down there, and you heard Humphrey speaking, right? A slip away is a place where you have to haul out your boat out to the water. When hurricane season is on its way, and if your boat want repairs, there's usually this concrete slab thing stretching out in the sea that you could drive out your vehicle and let out your thing and pull out the boat. As far as I understand, the government of Barbados put down some concrete on the beach side. This is at first they put. Let me tell you what they did. They put galvanized to stop the sea from washing out on the sand. So they actually went in the water and put You know how you would put up a yard with galvanized?
Right.
They put up galvanized to stop the sea from rushing up all the land, right? Obviously, the sea would wash it away.
Oh.
So the sea lick it down, wash it away, right? And they poured some concrete on the thing, and look, it's funny and laughable, but it is still serious, you know. Right? And if you go and see what they did for the $4.3 million on free said they were going to spend at Concept Bay, it was a total waste, right? That is not all. The jetty, right? They put pine plywood and repairing the jetty with pine plywood, right? And the jetty is cracked, the steel is blown. I mean, and they're replacing it with plywood. We know that the sea is going to rot it, and we know when the waves hit, the waves are going to lick those boards right out of that jetty, right? Not even proper hardwood, not mahogany, not any of the solid wood that can withstand a blow, but they're going for pine. But these people continue, and this reminds me of that $5 million that was spent at Oystins, you know, where they're paying up some of the stalls, but they're saying that $5 million was spent at Oystins to do that. Then they're saying that $4.3 million is going to be spent at Concept, and Humphrey saying that it was not a knee-jerk reaction, but it was in the estimates of Barbados to spend $4.3 million at Concept. What happened at Concept? $4.3 million of work. That's $10,000 worth of work, right? So we need to watch these so-called rehabilitation projects, right? Because if you compare the jetty at Spikestown, Oystins, all of the fish markets all over Barbados were restored, repaired, all of them. But look at Concept, and he's saying to me $4.3 million. Right? So we need some answers. But what is serious about this is that Humphrey is not the minister, you know, really and truly. This is managed under the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification, which is MEDIC.
Right.
So MEDIC is the substantive minister right now. However, we saw the video where Humphrey went down there. Right? And he only went down there because I went down there the day before. Right? And we did the videos, we took the pictures, we showed the machine on the spot, rotting away. And he went up there the next day with him and the representative for the area, Charles Griffith. And they did a whole interview, you know, touching up the machine and said that it was just their part. So where is the machine now? I could bet you the machine is not anywhere near the sea.
Oh
right?
my Lord. Oh my God. This is, I mean, I don't know if anybody ready for a new government? Can we find a few good men? Can we find at least 16 good candidates, folks? Mr. Franklin, can we find at least 16 good candidates? Kimar, Dr. Ferdinand, are we ready for a new government? Anybody? I'm looking at this and saying we must can do better than what we're doing. We can do better than we are doing. We are Barbadians. Our best resource, Kimar, is a human resource. Throughout the Caribbean, we might not have natural resources like Jamaica and Trinidad and all, but what we have more than anybody else is good human resources. Kimar, you ready for a new government, Kimar?
Yeah, I've been ready since 2018. I made that clear to the public. Hey.
You see, we were doing better when we didn't have University of West Indies, when we only had Carmen Harrison College, Lodge Foundations, you know, St. Michael's, Queen's College, when they didn't have education, was not as plentiful as it is now. Now we got all this education, and we can only find idiots to put in parliament. And I'm not pulling back any punches and things. We have a lot of people inside there who go in there and sit down and don't talk. And if they talk rubbish. They don't understand and mind you, most of the time they don't even speak to the substance of the bill. So I don't know if they understand what they're doing. What we need is to have some people who are willing to but the problem is that politics has become dirty business. And people who are capable do not want to be out there getting tainted with dirty business. And they like it so, because if you look in Parliament right now, there are very few people out there in Parliament that can make a living at anything else other than being a politician. Yeah. Check, go through them. And they can't fight, but they decide, but look, I can't do anything, so I can become a politician. Before, when I was younger, Freddie, and I said younger,
listen, let me make sure that if Kimar is completed Kimar, have you completed your presentation?
Well, you can let Caswell finish what he's saying, you know?
Right, just finish what you're saying quickly.
Just a second or two. When I was younger, we had professionals in Parliament, even if they weren't educated to that level, because we had a boy child, but he had his own business, you know, and stuff. If they weren't, but they could live outside of Parliament. We don't have very many who can right now, and when they're not in Parliament, they suffer. So that's why they got to do all these kind of dirty tricks to stay in power. We don't have quality people in the house. That is our biggest problem. The worst people get elected.
But we can. We can.
That's what I'm saying. We need to do that. We have to reverse it, and we have to put people in there who don't have to live off of Parliament. Because right now, if these people don't lose their seat, that's why they have to bring the age down to 50. Because if they don't bring the pensioners down to 50, they'll be suffering all that time. Because they can't find work for themselves. They can't go and pick up bottles, do something. But Lord, man, exists at a level. But what we do, we buy people's votes, and then we get in there, and hell.
And Kimar, finish your presentation tonight, because you've done some research, and then we just want to talk generally about this possibility of not just the election, but how do we put forward people? How do we get people ready? Let's dig into that a little bit. Go ahead, Kimar. The missing seaweed machine. Where is it?
Maybe a mermaid came up.
You're muted, Kimar.
Maybe a mermaid came up and took it out to sea.
Can't find me, brother.
Okay, where Kimar? Oh,
I'm seeing two Kimars actually. I'm not sure which one.
He's having some challenges as we wait. Okay, he's here.
I am back, but I am not sure what is happening in terms of. Oh my God, I'm probably X1. I'm not sure.
All right. Let me remove one from the studio. So talk, Kimar, so I know which one to talk. Go ahead.
Right. I think is the one that is on the big screen that you may have to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Kimar.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm getting very weary, to be honest, at this point. I said sometimes you just don't want to be, out front, coming across as an antagonist, but geez I mean, every single thing that is rolled out, there seems to be some nefarious thing going on behind it, right? So something as simple as repairing the fish markets, repairing oysters, which is a national treasure, repairing Concept. I have always heard this slogan, right? That as long as there's construction to be had, that pockets can be filled. right? And it is very often said that Barbados is one of the most covert, corrupt countries in the world as it comes to governance, right? So what you may have is, or what you had in terms of the whole project was cost overruns.
Yeah.
Right? I would like to remind Barbadians that the Barbados Labour Party administration between 1994 and 2008 had around $750 million in cost overruns on construction projects. Right? $750 million in cost overruns alone, you know. I'm talking about the project in itself.
Right.
Right? So what you can see here on the screen, Mark, so this is the jetty that they're putting the plywood on. Right? So you can see that pine, sorry.
Oh.
Pine. But it's almost play. Because the sea were treated as plywood. Right? You can see that they're putting this pine plywood on top of, and you can see the siding boards here not being changed.
Right.
Right, not being changed, and you can see all of the cracks in this jetty. Right, so where are you coming and doing patchwork, patching it up, cheap material, and then you have to come back and repair it again in a couple of months? Hurricane season is coming.
Waste of money.
Right,
that material might look cheap, but it might cost a lot of money, boy. Them fellas buy things for enough money here, whether it's cheap or not.
Well, this is not $4.3 million worth of work. I can tell you that. Right, and if you are doing this cosmetic patch-up thing, and you can see that all of the steel, just look at the crack in it, Caswell. Right, and you just replacing the board. So probably what they're gonna do, slap some paint on this, some fill all of these cracks with some sealant and paint it over to make you feel that they did something. And it is only until somebody gets injured, you know, one of the fishermen or this jetty collapses with people on it, it's when they are then gonna want to come and do something proper, when they should have repaired it in the first place properly.
But you know the steel is being corroded because once the water get into that concrete block there, the steel getting corroded and that whole thing can crumble, you know.
It's already, you can see the rust marks there already.
Yeah, you can see the rust coming through just by the top.
But if it's any reference, Kimar, this is a similar jetty to the jetty that was at Hilton. I don't know if you recall the jetty that was at Hilton. You can't find that jetty now. And that was a solid concrete jetty with wood facings. I remember it as a child walking out to the end. People used to go off the end of that jetty and dive into the sea. It used to be a diver's board kind of thing. If that has happened with the Hilton jetty, my goodness, you can't expect this to last for how much more? This is really a way. And you're saying if this is $4-something million, then Oystins has to be at least $50 million.
Well, this is the thing though. We need to put a stop to this because taxpayer money, taxpayer dollars are going out through the show. And all types of projects being approved. You remember when these guys they came up with this big brought out the blueprints for concept, and they had an entire thing on TV and how they're allocating this money and that money and the jetty will be fixed. Check Spike Stone. They didn't treat Spike Stone like this. Right? Check the other jetties that Humphrey claimed that they repair. They didn't treat them like this.
Yes.
Right? So what are you attempting to do? Botch up patchwork? But you know, they were embarrassed.
This is in don't laugh at me, I'm still learning the place very well, right? This is St. John, Kimar?
Yes, Concept Bay.
Right. So they have a way of wanting. It's almost like they treat St. John like it's not part of Barbados. That's the problem, because I was here saying they have a lovely jetty there, in what's the name of the place? St. Lucie, St. Peter, I think it is, in Spikestone.
Spike Stone. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Spike Stone.
Correct. Go ahead, Kimar. Sorry.
Yeah, Spike Stone. That's what I'm saying all the time, Spike Stone. And they repaired a couple of other jetties as well. But they didn't do what they're doing at Concept down there. They actually repaired those ones. So if you can do that for Spike Stone and all these other places, but look at what you're trying to do with Concept Bay.
Yeah, but you don't understand. Spikestown, the tourists go down there. Okay? You don't got very many tourists going to Concept Bay. These things are not done for the locals. They don't have any regard for us.
Nope. All optics. All optics.
The tourists can go up on that jetty and do what they got to do. But St. John is from St. John people, the poor people in St. John, so they will get what's left back. That's what you're seeing. The manifestation of it. You're not you see, they're pretending to care about people. All right? So they're giving you that they're pretending to care about you. But look, the tourists that you see, I think Barbados should be developed for Barbadians first. And then the tourists can come and enjoy what we have. But they're providing for the tourists. That is why you see to fix the roads. No. Because tourists come in for World Cup. And those World Cup doing much. Everything says that they don't care about us.
Yeah. They've got to go. I mean, we only have another 4 minutes, Kimar. Anything else you want to say about that before I want to throw out some ideas about this change in this government. Anything else you want to say about that, Kimar?
Well, I was just told that by someone, and I just think, but it was said that the Prime Minister asked for the CV machine to be removed, and the person gave the location. I don't want to give the location yet, because they were going to try to move it at 3 o'clock this morning. They told me that it was taken away in the dead of the night from a concert. Right?
That's how they deal with it, because I think that they did that with the steel houses.
All secrecy.
Well, okay, so it's moved. So it's definitely they're telling you how it was moved. We knew it was moved, but they're telling you that she's asked for it to be moved. Where do you take this from here, no, Kimar, for the people of St. John?
Well, see, it's not only a St. John issue. It's a whole of Barbados issue, because we have seaweed all over the island, most of the beaches, right? And they're attempting to start an industry of the seaweed. So we need an account. We need an audit. We need to understand where the money's gone, who's been spending it, if they're going to be brought to some type of justice. Because let's be honest, this was $300,000 wasted. Right? So Humphrey, the man who bought it, should have known that the type of seaweed harvester he bought is not suited for Barbados. That is more suited for lakes. Right? Not the sea.
Lord help me. Lord help me. You see what I am telling you about these people. You see what I'm saying, Kimar, a little. Oh goodness. Now, I believe Kimar and Caswell and Dr. Ferdinand that the people are ready for a change. And to those who say, but who's going to lead us? I say that's an insult. It's an insult to us Barbadians that you're saying that we don't have enough people here to govern our own business. And it's falling into the same kind of thinking, Mr. Franklin, why we are bringing in these consultants and paying them way more than they pay us. You know, you have Barbadians here that are even more qualified, and we are being paid less than these and treated in a less way than these consultants. I believe that there must be at least 16 persons, 16 candidates, Mr. Franklin, at least 16, right? There must be at least within these constituencies, at least say what, 10 to 15 persons that were saying, listen, I want to work with Kemar in St. John, right? Or it could be, I'm just throwing out ideas here, I could work on a particular ministry then, housing, right? And work with these people. Because if we're going to take over the government, we are ready to take over the government and to do it legitimately. This is not a thing where we are going to, as the Prime Minister is alluding to, I sorry I didn't come in that time, training young men on how to use guns. Anyway, as somebody born in Jamaica, that don't sound right, Prime Minister.
No.
That don't so that fall right into what the former PM said about you. That sounds like you looking for some kind of military situation to support your despotism. That's what it sounds like, okay, to me. So you need to fix that. But we are going to have a change of government, Mr. Franklin, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm serious. I'm not here to waste my time. I'm not wasting any time. We need a change of government. We need to take back our government, and you can listen all you want. Go back and let them know that what we're after is the government. Go and tell them. Mr. Franklin, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've been saying that now for the longest time, because when the government betrays you, what else? From their very first acts, when they first came into office, they started robbing poor people. They betrayed it. They promised so much glowing things, and then they turn around and rob poor people. Make sure that the tax burden was put disproportionately on the poor, because poor people don't got. And thing is, for what? Because they want to protect themselves. Then you look, and then what they wrote off the taxes, the national insurance, and the taxes that were outstanding for their friends and family, close family too. People who did not pay tax from 1968 to 2000, they write it off. And to say, so that was a betrayal. And then you up taxes on everybody else. So we should have been getting people asking for a new government from back then.
Mr. Franklin, this is where Sam Igbo come to the front of the class. Kemar, look at what he has on here. And Dr. Ferdinand, I believe, has been saying this for a little bit. He's saying Sam Igbo said, forget about parties. Districts should look for an individual among themselves. And then does individual select the person to represent the parish, or not necessarily the parish, but the constituency.
Yes.
So I think that I wrote that down as one of the things. I mean, they can come from a party. You can decide they decide I want a DLP person here, or I want the UPP, or whatever the case is, but that it comes from the constituency. Who do you want to represent you in your constituency? And then for a recall of something is put there, Mr. Franklin, some law that representative is not working, we are able to recall them. You understand? If we're going to be serious about government, this is going to, that mechanism in there would provide for accountability. Do we really want to change the system? Do we want back the government? Let us choose who must represent. Don't give us no representative. Let us choose. Let the people in St. John asking for Kemar. Let the people ask who they want, and let them represent the people. And let's have something, Mr. Franklin. Are we talking nonsense? Can it happen? Where they recall, we can say we recall the MP. When the MP is doing nonsense, like in Darware in my community, recall them. How about that, Mr. Franklin? Can that work?
Yeah, but it works in other jurisdictions where you can recall an MP. But you see what's happening here? The politicians make these laws right now. They're not going to sit down and allow you to think. So we have to take government into our hands. We have to force them to do these things. Right now, you have a Constitutional Review Commission. Nobody knows what it's doing. At least I don't. And if we don't have a system where the Prime Minister is not in charge of everything, basically, because right now the Prime Minister can do almost anything and there's nothing to stop her. Right now, we just had her friend brought in as Chief Justice. You know, her father's yard boy, or whatever he was at the time. He's Chief Justice now. You know, everything. The Prime Minister decides this, who will be principals of secondary schools? Prime Minister. Who will be heads of departments? Prime Minister. Who can represent us overseas as ambassadors? Prime Minister. Everything is in the Prime Minister's hands. We need to take away the power from the person. Even when we change the government, we must make sure the Prime Minister never had this amount of power ever again.
Correct. All of these are these things, and that's why, you know, I want to thank God for Mr. Thorne. I thank God for Mr. Thorne and what Rod Thorne. You know, I don't know if you're listening, but we want to thank you. You're doing a splendid job. Every time I listen to you in the parliament, there's something there that I said, this man, and he has coined a term, you know, the coalition of the righteous. He actually used it last night, and I want to get into that more and define righteous a bit more, because sometimes when we are righteous, we think it's a church word. A righteous is a word, you know, and so it's an English word. And we need to kind of break that down. But Kimar, what we know we gone over time. Kimar, your final words here. We're talking about taking back this government.
Before we do final words, Marcia, we only have 317 people liking this tonight so far. So if we can get a few people to get the algorithm going, we'll be very grateful. You know, we need those likes.
Yes, and we need the likes, guys. So while we're here, yes, while we're here chatting, Calvin is saying there are two established parties in Barbados. Stop theorizing about individuals. You cannot reinvent the wheel. No independent candidate is going to win in Barbados. Well, what we're talking about, Calvin, we're saying that whoever the constituency, they will determine who their candidate is. You know, it can come from the established party, or it might not. But why not try something a little different? It might come from an established party. What's wrong with that? You know, it's what they want to choose. But let me go to Kimar then, and then you, Dr. Freddie.
Yeah.
Kimar,
Okay.
what are your thoughts about us taking back? How can the people take back the government? What can we do?
Well, this is the thing, you know. The government is not just running on their own. The government is being ably supported by other Barbadians.
Yes.
Right? I am glad to see that there are people waking up, because we see new people at the march, and we're still sustaining the marches. We're seeing fresh people at ROADSIDE. So more and more people are waking up. So I think that what we're doing now is pivotal to taking back the government the right way. Now, we will not stoop to the lengths that others stoop to get into government, because we see that can turn around and bite you in the rear. So we don't want that. Right? I live to see the day, and I want people to acknowledge that this is really and truly a minority government, you know. They want the government with the lowest voter turnout ever in the history of Barbados. So they're not popular island-wide, but due to the political system that we have for sparsity posts, they won all 30 seats. But that does not mean that every Barbadian voted for them, or that the majority of Barbadians voted for them. Right?
No, only 41% of the people voted in Barbados.
So I'm saying that the 30,000 odd people that voted for the DLP and other parties, along with the other thousands that may just be there, people who watch the show and otherwise, tell a friend to tell a friend, spread the word, get it out there. This is factual information, true information. So far, no minister of government, no matter how they try, no consultant, no no political hitmen that they said it on the blogs. And women, so don't get to, they paid off the bloggers to spin narratives in their favor, right? So no amount of narrative spinning can hide the truth about what is happening in the government of Barbados, right? And as the opposition leader said, the government is thieving money, right? He said it. So if Barbadians are okay with that, I say, go ahead. That is your right. That is your choice. We're a democracy, right? But if you are not okay with what is happening in government, and you, like all of us, want a new government, right? You made the first step in that you're watching the show, and I want to encourage you to continue to watch the show, but tell other people, spread it all around. Let us get a mass base. We have people in the diaspora all over the world watching, right? So we need to get as far and wide a reach as possible so that people can hear the truth about what happened, and let them, because we're a democracy again, and let them decide for themselves after hearing the facts and the information if they want to continue with what they have, or if they want something new, righteous, and about them.
Yes, as Mr. Thorne said, it's his phrase. It's, in fact, when we say we are not afraid, Kimar, that's the person who started to speak to us and to use that on the marches is Mr. Thorne. And I asked him, I said, we want to use that for our next march. And so we launched We Are Not Afraid series. And then he comes, he's talking about the coalition of the righteous, and he's leading in such amazing ways. Really, I must say that I'm very impressed with what Ralph Thorne is doing, and who's to say that us doing this? Why can't it benefit what Mr. Thorne is doing? Who said it will not benefit? Mr. Thorne is a leader of the opposition in Barbados. It's not the opposition of a party. Yes, he is the political leader of the DLP, but he is also the leader of the opposition, and which involves all of Barbados. But because we are so partisan in our thinking, you see, and we can't see that having this discussion on the show is not something that will hurt Mr. Thorne in any way. Why would it hurt him? Huh? Why would it hurt him? It's not something that is going to hurt him in any way. What is Pastor Theory's asking a question? Important question. I don't even know if I understand it. Who should replace the first past the post?
What should replace the
first past the post?
What? I thought he said who. Sorry.
What should happen is what we have in Guyana. Proportional representation.
Correct.
Because then nobody will ever get 30 seats. Because then who gets the most seats gets the most votes. If you get 40% of the votes, you get 40% of the seats. That will make sure that Barbados people have to get together and work together. Because if you want to amend the Constitution, you have to have 20 people voting for the Constitution. Now, if you don't have 2/3 of the votes cast, you cannot then amend the Constitution. So you have to rely on the opposition. Because our Constitution should not be changed willy-nilly like how these people have been doing it. Every time they change the Constitution because they wanted, in fact, they wanted to bring it. Mia's friends change the Constitution because you have people who cannot qualify to be in the Senate. She changed the Constitution. We need to stop that nonsense.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. We need to get into this a bit more, Kimar, and to really let the people see the possibility. People need to volunteer. I don't know how many persons you might be working with in your team, Kimar, but every person who is going to be a candidate should have a team. Dr. Ferdinand, they should not be on their own. Every Barbadian needs to be ready to rebuild. Everybody, we have to rebuild our country, and everybody, we are, and I see how this can we're working in conjunction with the leader of the opposition to get this done, regardless of a party or whatever. Just get the work done. Get it done. Yes. Dr. Ferdinand, you had something to say, and
Yeah, well, let me make a response here, Marcia, right away to Calvin with regards to this matter of two-party state and independent candidates. We need to remember that there is no DLP and BLP in the parliament. There are 30 representatives of 30 constituencies in Barbados. BLP and DLP do not exist in the legal system of our country. Caswell can confirm that and support me. I've expressed this before. So don't come to me telling me nonsense about, two-party. Cayman Islands was a two-party country. It was said that they would never have a government in Cayman except it be one of the parties. In the last general election, 13 independents out of 19 candidates won the election, and the country is now governed by independent candidates. It's not theory, Calvin. It's fact. That is not theory. And pardon me if I get passionate about it.
No, but you lived in Cayman and you've seen it work.
Yes,
and so as Calvin always says on the program, you people present their ideas. So Calvin is only presenting an idea, but you have lived it, and that's only Calvin's opinion. So go ahead.
And but I'm making the point that our parliament is occupied by 30 independent candidates. So the aspect of independent candidates in Barbados is not new. It is here. In addition, you mentioned something just now about the constituency people choosing their candidates. That's what happened in Cayman. The areas, the people in that constituency selected persons they knew, and they put them forward and they ran for office. We also need, Marcia, to ensure you aspect of recall representative. Yes. If a representative is not doing the job, the people of Barbados should be able to present a petition to the president and have that individual recalled if it's a by-election or whatever. For that matter, I would go as far as saying they need to have the capacity to do the same thing with the entire government. And in terms of the election, I feel that the people need to have the right to present a certain number of signatures on a petition rather than a prime minister of any kind determining when elections should be called. I also believe that we need to fix the election dates and not allow that to be up to the whim and fancies of any leader, where they can attempt, for example, like what we have now, where you can have the prime minister and the ruling party taking advantage of a disarray among the opposition party or something of the sort. It wouldn't matter. If that election date is fixed, the prime minister cannot change it. We need to have those kind of things put in place. And finally, we need to have the people choose the members of parliament. We need to have the people choose the members of Senate, and we need to have the people choose who the prime minister is going to be. Because then you have all these friends and colleagues and whatnot get into parliament, decide who they want to be the prime minister, and then the people have no say where that is concerned. All right, so that is my take on it, and I believe that if we get about doing some of these things, we'll have a significant change in the governance.
Yes, we're looking for a change of government. Thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand. Mr. Franklin, any final words from you before we go?
In 1961, the BLP got 5 seats. The Democrat Labour Party got 14 seats.
I want you to do this. Send me this information, Mr. Franklin. I'm not cutting about this. Is important. We're going to do it up and do a presentation, but go ahead.
Right.
Awesome.
Yes, the BLP got 5 seats. The DLP got 14. The Barbados National Party got 4 seats, and an independent person got 1. So it is nothing. It is not far-fetched to believe that independents can win.
Absolutely.
Independents have been taken into the parties because they were powerful people. Some of them were very powerful, like Frank Walcott. He was independent at one stage, and they needed him. All right, so don't get carried away by the only parties. We are told we are conditioned to believe that. That's nonsense. Somebody saying that the Barbados Party is unpopular. It has been for a long time. They called the election in 2021, 2022, whenever it was now, because they were unpopular, not because of me. And they knew that if they last out their term, they would lose. Because the nonsense that they were doing, people got angry with them. So that's what they call it in the middle of a pandemic. And then stop thousands of people from voting on the pretext that they had COVID. And it was had 18 months to go before the election. They couldn't afford to go along with 18 months. And then you got, just to show you how really bad it was, that the people did not turn out to vote. People were angry. 41% of the people voted. 41% of the electorate. As a schema said just now, that was the lowest poll ever in the history of Barbados. So people, and I say the Barbados, they probably know that they were unpopular. That is why they moved before they got any worse. But their tactics were good in that for them, because they were able then to capitalize on COVID and again got 30 seats. I somehow still don't believe that they actually got 30 seats by fair means. But we will never know. Right, so, but we need to get them out, because they are not doing what the people that, sorry, but let me tell you, Frank Walker used to win as independent. He only lost when he joined the DLP. All right, so
enough said.
Okay,
enough said.
So don't go around spreading the propaganda of the parties, because they want you to believe that it will only happen between one parties. And if you look, you will see that the parties are not much different. So we can have independents that might have a different perspective, because they follow on and do the same things. We need to get these people gone, because if they don't go, the poorest of the poor, who they should be protecting, will suffer even more.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Franklin. We really need to look at this some more, and to really, see how, because I don't know if the DLP has us all 30 candidates at the moment. I don't know what they have. They will need to have candidates, and people need to start thinking about running. People need to start really seriously thinking about that. Because if we really are talking about changing the government, we're going to need candidates in order to do that, right? Yeah. Things. So yeah. And as I said, all it's the people have different views, and that's the thing. Well, nobody is going to bully anybody on here. Dr. Ferdinand has his views, and there are others of you who have different views about it. And for me, I'm in full support. I've been called DLP. I've been called all kinds of names, because I say I support Ralph Thorne. And you're not going to take that. Nobody will take that from me. I support Mr. Thorne. As long as he's doing what's supposed to happen, I'm going to support Mr. Thorne all the way, whatever that, however that works out. I'm going to support him, because I believe Mr. Thorne is doing a fantastic job. On Saturday, we're not going to have a march. We're going to support the health fair there in King George V Park. We're going to support King George. We're going to support the health fair in King George V Park. That's where we're going to be on Saturday morning. Those of you who are interested in that. And they've had an essay competition among the young people, the school children, and they're going to give out a special prize on that day as well. Yeah. And then we've been asked to do another roadside parliament. So listen out. I'm going to NCC tomorrow, and hopefully, we'll be able to get a location. so that by Wednesday we can tell you exactly where Roadside Parliament is going to be. Oh my Lord! So we're back at that again, right? So so let's do that for next week Sunday. Next week Sunday evening, we have another Roadside Parliament. Okay, so bless you all so much. Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. Thank you, Mr. Franklin Kimar, and also for John, last name John Knox, who was on tonight. Thank you all so very much. Yeah.
Right. Good night.
Good night. We have to get our song.
Yes, I was waiting for that. Can't go without that.
English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Well, good night, good night, good night.
All right, I will see you all on Wednesday.
Good night.
Good night to the loyal opposition. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.